downside yesterday to the upside today. Let's learn a little bit more about it with Sharif and Adara. Go get them.
What is up, beautiful people? Welcome to How to Trade, formerly known as that midday show. That is your girl Adara, and I'm Sharif, and we're gonna wait because YouTube is not fast enough. We already have Haji Sab though. He says good with a thumbs up. Very happy. We got Livu Roska. We got Jeremy Newman, Picky Eater, as well as a Proper Paradox. I like the picture of the dog, Proper Paradox. That's cute. Naps, we got Mo Banks, we got my man Adam DeLuce, we got Trading with Nikkei and Paul Milligan, Trump Corp, okay. Peter, we got Rogelio Concepcion, sorry, I probably butchered your name, I do apologize. Black Sheep Trades, we got Sewer Trader and Mr. Ian, Juan Alejandro Castillo and Vicky and Novak. We got Disk Drive, because, you know, if you don't have a hard drive, disk drive will absolutely work it there. Racer X9 2K1, we got Andrew Trow as well as TH. 9 to 5 Grind, love the name Ranjan and Anurag. We got, who else? JK146 Kasan. We got Nazir. We got Pizza 395, JF Trader, as well as our Timao and Jim Zed joining us today. Adara, and what would it be, what kind of a show would it be, Adara, if Big Asian didn't join us as well? So Big Asian's in the chat. Shout out to him.
I'll tell you what kind of show it would be. It would not be a very big show.
Oh,
there
I
we
like
go.
it. Putting.
Also worth noting, Sean and Obi are twinning again. You just can't see because they're not sitting next to each other, but I must share this fun fact because I found it entertaining to myself. Also, if there's any songs that you want to share, guys, let us know in the chat. !join, space, $, that ticker. Let us know. Now that I've done all of the spiels for this morning, yeah, how are you doing today, Sharif?
Fantastic.
I know you're looking at Apple. I've been looking at Apple.
Yes, I'm already negative on Apple, Adara. The show hasn't started. So I tried to take this bad boy short and then said, hey, yeah, I'm going north. So we'll see what it does at 220. There is a bit of resistance there. Obviously, the whole dollar level will be looking for that. Anything you're looking at before we start the lesson?
Yeah, SPY here, that 554. I initially was like, we broke up at 554. I saw us make a new high of day, and I was like, that looks like a short. I didn't take it because I was like, you know, I just sat down. I wanted to get my bearings. Good thing I didn't take it. We did get down there to 553.80s. We got kind of weak. We got a topping tail candle, and the SPY's like, well, the candle's not done yet, Adara, so, you know, don't blow out this candle yet. We're going to go higher. I was like, okay, cool. I'll wait. I'll be patient. In terms of what I'm looking at, otherwise, NVIDIA, my levels have kind of been blown through, but Apple, A to the A to the P to the L, not what I usually look at, but I sit down and I said this to Sharif, I was like, look at my side charts, I was like, your girl Apple, looking mighty fine. This one, kind of interesting here from a trend perspective to give a little bit of a thing, segue to our lesson. This was in a downtrend, higher, lower highs, lower lows. Then we get a nice flat little bottom here, and then we get higher highs, higher lows. If we come back and retest that 1960, which was a clear resistance support flippity floppity, I would love to go long Apple. Take a bite of that apple. Right now, we're going to take a bite of some learning trend lines. Yeah,
we do. We got trend lines today, guys. We're going to stick with that theme that we've been doing all week, probably into next week as well. Trends. So let's get right to it. This might seem like, you know, just a layman's topic, but I promise you there's some stuff here that with trend lines that you probably haven't heard before. So might as well just give it a shot. Stick around with us. Maybe you'll learn a thing or two. So by the end of this lesson, ideally what we'd like to understand is the intricacies of these trend lines, including how to draw them, which sounds simple, obviously, determining their significance, handle small penetrations of or breaches of those of the lines and apply them to trading decisions. So let's get right to it. Introducing the topic as we typically do. Introduction to trend lines. So what are they? Well, obviously there's two types of trend lines here that we have. One's an uptrend line, which connects rising lows. An uptrend line, which connects the rising lows. So when you draw a trend line up, generally you're connecting the lows as opposed to the highs. Exactly the opposite for a downtrend line. Typically there, when you're drawing something down into the right, you are connecting the highs. Obviously, you can connect the highs and lows and make yourself a channel. That's beyond the scope of this lesson. What we're talking about is just strictly trend lines. We'll get to channels at a later date. The purpose of doing this whole shebang of connecting lows or connecting highs is to identify and confirm market trends, which can offer you areas of support and resistance. So when you move up into the trend line from south to north, you're rejecting off it. If you're moving down to the trend line from north to south, you're bouncing off it, or so the book says. So drawing the trend line, probably a lot of people are their eyes are going to gloss over here, but let's just talk about it. So 2 points are needed. To draw a trend line, there is a minimum of 2 points that have to be connected, right? For a tentative trend line, 3 for validation. So obviously what you're connecting is not just one candle to another, but one low to another or one high to another. I'm going to show you exactly what I mean in a second on the chart. So 2 points needed at a minimum, 3 to confirm or for validation. The uptrend line, as we mentioned, you're connecting ascending lows. Downtrend line, you're connecting descending highs. And then, as I mentioned, third point to get that third touch there, whether for the highs or the lows, just to apply, adds validity, I should say, to the trend line. So how do you determine the significance of a trend line? I'll tell you some key factors. The length of the trend line is very operative here, okay? The longer the trend line, both in terms of time and distance, are more significant. So basically, the general rule is the longer a trend line has been enforced and it hasn't been breached, and I'll explain to you what I mean by breach in a second, the more significant it is, the longer it's lasting, and both in terms of time and distance. Number 2, the number of touches. It sounds a little bit, but the number of touches by the price action on the trend line. So the more times the trend line has been tested and held, the more significant it becomes. So if you have a lot of, retesting of the trend line, both either for the north or south, the descending or ascending trend lines, and it's held, the more valid that trend line is. Also, the angle of the trend line. Obi often talks about this. He draws these speed lines to show you the angle of the trend. Why is the angle important? Because the more steep the angle, the less sustainable it becomes. That works for both the north and the south, the short and the long. So essentially what we're talking about here, steeper trend lines are less sustainable, while moderate angles suggest a more sustainable trend. So it behooves you to make a calculation about how steep that trend line is to kind of gauge whether or not it's something that can be sustained. And last but not least, obviously, market respect. The market often respects significant trend lines, making them reliable tools for forecasting future price movements. So you've got a respectable trend line if you can tick off as many of these boxes as you can here. So if you've got a moderate angle, the number of touches is a lot, as well as both the time and distance of the trend line are more than average, and that obviously becomes a subjective issue in and of itself. So that is kind of what I want to tell you with respect to determining the significance of the trend line. Some people don't know about this kind of thing with the angle, the touches, and the length and time. And then trend lines. How do we draw them? Now, obviously, I kind of explained touching the lows or connecting the lows, and then connecting the highs for downtrend lines, but that's not, the end of the matter. Drawing trend lines here, trend lines should be drawn ideally to include all price action. Measuring the trend line meaning the trend line must touch or pass through as many price points as possible. So even if there are intraday penetrations, so breaches of the trend line on an intraday basis, but the closes above for the uptrends or below for the downtrend lines, the trend line remains valid. So the point to tell you here is, even though there is a breach of the trend line, if you're drawing it on the daily or drawing the weekly, and you get an intraday breach, it's not the end of the matter. What's most important is whether the price action closes above or below that trend line. You often hear me say, I want to take note of the money that's hanging out at the end of the day, not the 0 days to expiry options or intraday trading where you got to be flat at the end of the day, but the money after 4 o'clock. How does it feel? What is it doing? What is it thinking? And so that's why I want to focus on the closing print and the importance of inclusion of as much price action as you can. Ignoring certain points on the chart, if they don't fit within your trend line, can lead to misinterpretation of the trend. Let me give you an exact, like a perfect example here on Lee Auto, because it's just the first one that's coming to my mind. So let's load up the daily right now on Lee. You'll notice that there's a very clear downward trend on Lee. So in this particular case, we're connecting the highs, right? Because it's a downtrend. So what we need to do is connect the highs. Now, what happens when this kind of event here on earnings happens? It completely distorts the entire downtrend line. But, negating this price action over here when it made its way up into 46.5, I fail to look at the double top by negating this price action over here because it doesn't fit within my nice trend line analysis with these lower highs. Then I fail to see that I can take another possible trade if the price is to work back into 46, 47 as a result of this obvious area of resistance over here. So, it may not fit great or fit nicely within your analysis there on the lower lows or the lower highs, I should say, but you definitely have to include the areas that don't always jive with your trend lines. Okay? How to handle these small trend line breaches. Another important topic, let's get right to that. So these minor violations. What do I mean by minor violations? So small breaches of a trend line do not necessarily signal a trend reversal. They could be false signals or part of the normal market noise. Confirmation as well here is quite important. So you got to wait for confirmation through a close beyond the trend line or additional indicators before assuming a trend line is validly broken. So keep that in mind. Handling these small breaches of the trend line is where a lot of people go wrong because they see it breached intraday and they're like, oh, I got to get out. The line's been breached. So I'm going to submit to you two different options that you can use here. So if the daily trend line, or whether you're charting on the daily, whether you're charting on the weekly, if you get a trend line breach on a closing basis, you can do a number of things here. Two things. First, employ the 3% rule. So what you can say to yourself, all right, I'll get out if the price closes 3% below the trend line. So that's one way to go about things. The other way is to employ the 3-day rule. I don't know why 3 is important here. The 3-day rule is you get 3 successive, not, with a green day here and there, but 3 successive breaches and closes above or below the trend line, depending on whether you're going long or short. And basically what you're looking at there is, if you have that 3-day period below the close, then that's your key to get out. Or 3-day close above the high, that's your key to get out. Okay, so you can employ any number of different strategies for these trend line breaches. So just a couple of things here. Small penetrations of a trend line do not necessarily signal a reversal. Wait for confirmation. Confirmation can come through the 3-day rule or the 3% rule. And you also need to be aware of market behavior. Be aware of the market tendencies to test these trend lines with minor violations before resuming the original trend, okay? So just these intraday breaches should not push you out, but if you get a breach beyond the close, you can employ the 3-day or the 3% rule. Moving on here, basically this is what it is. You have an intraday breach. You can choose to draw a trend line based on that low. But you can see that obviously this is a bar chart, so these don't look like candles, Chinese or Japanese candlesticks. So this means it closed over there. So the left side is where we open, and the right side is where we close. That's what those lines are. All right. So the valid break of a trend. What constitutes a valid break of a trend line? So breaking the trend, a valid break is typically confirmed when the price closes beyond the trend line rather than just breaching it during the day. And volume considerations here are also super important. A break of the trend line on above average volume can significantly increase the likeliness, or the likelihood, I should say, of it staying above there. And you're going to ask, well, what's above average volume? Well, if you're charting on the daily, then you got to look to the candles prior to that. Is it above average? If it's above average, like really, when's the last time we had a candle that big? So you're going to look, a year window, 6 months window, whatever, gauge this volume trend line or volume bar, I should say, based upon the others in the past year, the past 6 months, or whatever your time frame is. So you can make the calculation or the assessment there. So how trend lines reverse roles, you often hear me talk about, resistance becoming support and support becoming resistance as applicable to trend lines as it is to these horizontal areas of support and resistance. So yeah, support does become resistance and vice versa. So after a trend line is broken, it often reverses roles, right? An uptrend line that was once support may become resistance. A downtrend line, contrary here, that was resistance may become support. And the trading implications here are pretty simple. Understanding this role reversal can help setting up target levels for exits and entries after a trend line break. So definitely something to be on the lookout for, how resistance flips to support and vice versa there. And measuring implications of the trend lines, you often heard us talk about this when we talked about chart patterns. If you have a bull flag, you can measure the continuation of the bull flag by projecting the length of the flag upwards. Likewise, with the head and shoulders, you can measure it from the neck to the top of the head and then project that downwards. Similar, not exactly the same, but similar thing here for trend lines. So price projection is important. The distance between the start of the trend line and the first point it connects to, which is point 1, can be projected from the point of the trend line break to estimate the potential price movement. Love that. It gives you somewhere to set up beak wetters or set up your stops. And target setting, exactly what I kind of just alluded to there. Use this measurement to set up profit targets or to set your stop losses based on the expected price move following a trend line break. So obviously, we all use trend lines mostly every day, but I don't think a lot of us use it. Well, you probably don't, Ram, but it's all good there. But a lot of us didn't really know a lot of the uses that we could do with it. So shout out to John J. Murphy, because I based this lesson on his book.
Shout out to you as well. Havana Woody saying they really enjoyed the lesson. Also asking, does the trend line get drawn in the body of the candle or do we include the wick? I think usually at least just in my experience, I think you can use the body, but also like if we have violations of the wick basis, that can also tell you things as well, right? Like if we're trying to break above and we can't, then hey, like, you know what I mean? This could be a pretty big area of resistance. Let's say if we break above it. Right? So
back to the close.
Yeah.
The close. So the close is super important. So if you're looking at whether the trend line got breached, you got to look at the close, not the wick. But yeah, absolutely. For intraday trading, that wick is important. It stopped there for a reason. There's a buyer there or a seller there, whatever.
Somebody's there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. How's your look?
Oh, thank you so much for going over that, Sharif. We are in GitLab, and I am really pleased as punch. We did get some shares out there. This was the largest position I've ever had of a stock of this price. Like, I'm going to be really, really upfront. I know it's not like crazy expensive. I've taken more shares with Palantir, but Palantir is a little bit less expensive. Basically, what I did here, we should get this next guy ready to go with this profit taker. Let's see what we do with 31s. Basically, and I'm just using these levels in case you're like, hey, why are these levels being drawn where they are? Okay, dope, we already got filled. I drew these levels because I was looking at any kind of area with these wicks, these price actions. Every one of these I found so far is giving you some kind of fight. So I'm like, I stand by the levels I've drawn. Let's see if they continue to hit here. I would love to see break below 53. I know I drew this line of 53.20s. Let's see if we get below 53. I have half the position left, I believe, at this point. Basically, what I was initially using as my stop was I got involved 54.20s with pretty nice chunk of my position, was risking into 54.40s because you can see all of these chip and chops, right? Then it was going to add here 40 cents in the money if we got below 53.80. Did that. Okay, dope. Oh my gosh, you want to give me a little bit more here? Let's see if I can get a smaller amount of share. You know what? We'll do that. We get 53.01s. Let's go. Basically, what I'm trying to do is any kind of area of support or resistance I'm seeing as we get near that is where I'm getting out. Initially, that was where I added to when we had those interactions. And I would argue, I'm already going to start journaling on this trade aloud to you guys. I should have been adding where, at least some of these exits should have been adds. I think especially that first one. And that was one thing, too, I was saying when Obi was on the show on Friday, shout out, we were talking about how he and I were reviewing my CrowdStrike trade from Thursday. And he was like, are there any of these areas where you took out that you think you could have added in retrospect? And I was like, yeah. And then I was actually tempted to add to this with this first area. I took some profit here, 53.60s, but I was like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Like, no, Dara, that's trading for P&L. If there is still a reason to maybe add there, get involved. Am I cognizant of the fact that we're having a little bit of a bounce here on the bid at VWAP? Yes, I am. I'm going to watch and see what we do here. I'm basically using prior bar highs here for my stop. So this 53.40, which is also, again, an area of interaction here, that'll be the stop. I'm okay with that. Currently average here at 53.86, and I do have half of my total position still left in this stock. Oh, RIP my GitLab chart. Also want to address why I took this name because I know it is a little bit cheaper than the stocks I normally trade. I liked GitLab because it was an earnings name. You knew there was catalyst, you knew there was going to be volume, and it has a spread. So for me, as long as I'm able to kind of read that spread, I am happy with my trades. And the spread really helped me out too when I got in and I added, and then I was about to get stopped out because I switched my stop at that point to break even, which would have been at the time 54.05s. And then what we do is we do this little chop, this little trade. I said, Adara, breathe, stay in the trade. And what I saw in the spread was pretty bearish. So let's see what we do here. I love this bearish 5-minute candle. Let's see if we can follow it up. We might bounce off VWAP, I understand, and we might have to get out of this trade, but I'm pleased as punch with what I did with this. Let's go. How are you doing, Sharif?
Are you tired of being late to the trade? Are you always playing catch up in this market? Are you missing out of the big moves because you're too slow to the news? That's the case. Well, then Benzinga Pro is your unfair advantage. Get breaking news alerts up to 30 minutes before everyone else and pinpoint exactly why stocks are moving. And yeah, join that thriving community of traders who share their strategies in real time. Are you ready to see how Benzinga Pro can transform your trading? If so, then go on, visit benzinga.com/pro and get yourself that free 14-day trial. We're not going to comment about this gentleman today because we did that before. Happy
cool.
with this trade over here. Got in at Tesla at 219.80. I was able to take it out at 20s. Took 30 pennies, but as per usual, I didn't take the full lot. I was really debating on whether to hold this. The reason I got in on Tesla at this level, well, number one, it's really the best long in Mag 7 world at the moment. And number two, it's been very respectful, as you can see, of the 10 exponential moving average on the 5. So it dipped into the 10. I saw a hammer candle forming as it got bought up off that low, and I punched in. Sometimes you don't get the best price. Obviously, this did dip into 219.50. I ended up getting in the 80s, so we missed that from the bottom there. But it does do a nice little move back into 221. However, what I'm noticing, obviously, here is the last, better part of 20 minutes, we've really had trouble taking 221 on a closing basis. So despite the fact that we just took that nice little long, I'm going to be on the lookout here for a possible 221 rejection. Definitely not where I anticipated the rejection to come. You anticipate that $10 level at 220 to be the real level of resistance, but we don't choose. So going to keep my eye out here on Tesla to see whether or not we can work into something below that 221 if it keeps testing that area again, Adara. So I'm going to keep my eye on that.
Yeah, let's see how that one goes there in that Cybertruck. Hopefully you're saying, beep, move it out of my way. I got to take some profit. That would be what I definitely hope there for you on that Cybertruck. GitLab, we did take out 60% of the remaining position at the time there at VWAP. I know I said I was going to take out a little bit less, but I didn't like that interaction. We almost got stopped out on this, so I said, again, not fear, it's just being realistic, right? I was like, it is VWAP. You got to be honest, that is a level I liked anyway, so I said, take out 60%. I was going to take out 40%, so it's not a massive difference here, but I'm saving a piece for the dream, and I'm going to get that beak wetter ready. Look at this 5250s. Look at this pre-market open. We hoop to the downside. Look where we wick up into. Ooh. Can we break it? No, we can't. Then we do. So I do like that 5250s. Am I aware, like I said, bit of an optimistic area of profit, but what I really learned from that Lulu trade on Friday is that if your levels make sense, if you have them with technical analysis, if you are exercising patience, then maybe you will get paid. Shout out to the pun bears versus bulls sometimes drops. As of right now, again, using prior bar highs here on the 3-minute, which currently is 53.40. Wow, this is starting to look a little bit bullish, though, some of these wicks, so I am being cognizant of that, but I'm not going to panic sell. We're going to breathe. We're going to go. Stay calm, stay chill, stay light and easy, breezy, beautiful, coverage short, although not yet. But yeah, that was really on the nose, or on, much like bronzer, it was on the nose.
You just got to sing it, Adara.
I guess I should have.
Yeah.
Shout out there to Tony saying nice trading GitLab. I do appreciate that. I'm really just trying to grow every single day. What I realized is you do have to have that confidence, that confidence, whatever you want to call it, right? GitLab, not normally a name I trade, but I had it in my side chart. As I sat down, I kind of noticed this could get a little bit reversey. The reversion hits, and I've been trying to do a bit more reversion trading lately, and so that hits, and I'm like, get involved. So I do like that look. Yeah, patience, everyone. Shout out to Jasper Fernandez. He's not saying patience, he's saying patience. So I like that energy. I like that. Shout out to you, Dan Emmons. I appreciate that. I know I heard about your NQ long in the chat as well. So nice look there. NVIDIA, a lot of these kind of roundy little dudes over here. Not sure what to make of them. You're right, Tesla's being really bamboozling though. That's an interesting one. What Dollar Tree up here in terms of other earnings names? Zscaler. Oh. This one got scaled back this morning. I was saying that to Neil. Kind of a fun little morning pun. Because as Sharif will know and everyone can attest to, I do make everyone listen to my puns at all times, not just on the show. Zscaler, not really as clear of a pattern as I would like it to have. A little bit of a kind of a bat wings, like it's like, where am I going? A little bit rounded. Interesting little look there. So we'll see how that one goes. It's also worth noting here, guys, if you have any tickers you're looking at, you're like, hey, what direction? What do I do? Where will it go? I can't tell you where it'll go, but I can tell you if you want that perspective, you can go into that chat and vote. Exclamation point, join, space, $, ticker. What do you get if you vote? You may ask. You're like, what is my hard-earned vote being going towards? Well, you will see Sharif gesticulate wildly on green screen.
I will.
You will see.
Maybe I'll actually do it, Dara, because we keep giving the people, we'll keep telling them I'm going to gesticulate wildly, and then I don't do it. So maybe we're building it up here, and that's not a good thing.
I think maybe that's what we should do. But either way, you can find out what Sharif will do with that green screen if you go into the chat, exclamation point, join, space, $, CPOOP. No, I'm joking. That was really one that was voted for. How are you doing over
Good.
there?
I'm in NVIDIA right now when we're doing the dance here. I'm trying to defend the 20 exponential moving average. Nice move into 110, and now it's coming back into that key area of technical support, or at least I see it as technical support. It's the consolidation area top at around 108.5. I'm trying to pack my patience over here, but my out is going to be through the break of the mid-30s, so we're going to have to defend this $0.50 level. I'm 10 cents out of the money at the moment. We're long 65s, and we're going to, we're almost basically break even now. I'd like to wet my beak around the whole dollar, but it's going to have to hold. So NVIDIA, good, decent day for it, but it may be a kind of like a late trade over here. We shall find out very soon whether or not this pays or whether I get stopped out. But I got to echo your sentiment. I think you're right. Tesla is still holding the 10 exponential moving average on the 5, whereas, NVIDIA is now coming down into the 20. So is the futures contract. We're below 19.1, obviously, but we're above the 20 exponential on the future. And this is zigging and zagging over here on NVDA. So I'm trying to pack my patience. Obviously, Meta, very strong as well. Let's bring in the side chart here on META. It's literally at highs, just printed 514.45. So, and it's printing now 514.18. So a lot of strength right now in META. And you saw a lot of strength in Microsoft as well, relatively speaking, okay? I mean, yes, they are just marginally green, but where they were to start the day, where they are now, it looks like they've recovered a little bit here. Obviously, the market, same bag. We're only up 0.17 on the future. And then when you look, I think I just got stopped out there of NVIDIA. So we just got stopped out again of NVIDIA. So just, taking a bit of a hit today. 0 for 2, right? Well, no, 1 for 2. One decent trade on whatever this name or Tesla, and then one mistake on Apple, and then another mistake on NVIDIA. So we're gonna have to get our bearings under us and maybe start looking short now as the market heads back into 19,000. We'll have to see. Number one, does it get a defend on the 20 exponential on the 5-minute on the future, which is at right now, literally. Or do we got to wait to come back down into that 19,000? In fact, yesterday, where did we close exactly? We closed at around 19,007, 19,008, something around there. So basically defend 19,000 or just a little bit above. So we'll see if we can defend that area and then catch a little bit of a bounce here. But the long has not worked out for me so far this afternoon. Keep my eye on that. Ryan Hamblin. Sharif, I must ask you a question. Why are the Gunners bad? I don't know. Have you been watching the Premier League the last 2 years, bro? I don't know. I don't think they're bad. Moving on to actually real questions. What are other people asking over here? Please be respectful in the chat. Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about Arsenal right now. But that's a look there. Yeah, I've got really nothing at the moment, but I see Apple is headed right back down, baby. So maybe we are on to something here with the short. I like it if it breaks down below the 75 penny level. It seemed to have support there for whatever reason last time around. So it breaks down below 75. We're looking short, baby.
Yeah, GitLab is maybe trying to bounce. Okay, we're going to get out of GitLab, though I have to say thank you, GitLab, for the journey. This has been a really nice first trade of the day here on GTLB. Took out the remaining, still made like 50 cents here on the remaining fifth of the total position. So played as much with that happen here. I should definitely cancel, though, that beak wetter because you don't want to accidentally get that filled later. But basically, again, to just kind of recap this, we had that break of the trend line. And this actually goes to the trend line lesson because look at these higher highs, higher lows here. We had that umbrella or inverse umbrella handle pattern. So the umbrella handle pattern for me has always been when you have a big downward move, quick spike up, then the rain continues. You got to get your umbrella out because you get more downside. We got the umbrella handle pattern inverse once. We got it twice. We get it a third time. Then we get this kind of topping tailish candle here into 55s. Then I basically, once we broke below the 90 MA, once we had the defined trend break, that's when I got out. So happy with this trade. Just going to recap what it did. If some of these levels come back in, I'll take this maybe in either direction, but I want to be able to breathe, chill. Super happy with this trade. I was, like I said, saving that last piece for the dream at 52.50. The dream didn't work out, so I got out in the prior bar high. No regrets, I must say. Also, to shout out the person that says this a lot, Obi, I am looking at Amazon a bit here on the side chart. Oh boy. I like what I see here in AMZN, and I've definitely missed that move. To be clear, happy I had GitLab, but wow, that was aggressive. Look at this Amazon. Look at how it held that. We had this resistance, and we had the support, and they flipped and they flopped, and then we broke below that 175.25, and RIP the Zon. Jeff Bezos is like, no way, Zos. Look at this move down. Let's see if we bounce here at VWAP. That could be a look, and it's not even just VWAP. It's also kind of a pre-market low of sorts here at 174.40, 174.60, sorry. So that could be interesting. NVIDIA kind of coming into interesting levels. We had someone in the chat, I believe it was Kendall Lopez, there we go, saying NVIDIA found resistance from yesterday's AVWAP. We encountered the resistance high of day at 109.97. As someone who was in that NVIDIA 110 short yesterday, that level was wild. Like once we broke below that, to be fair, it did have the added confidence of the entire market floosh at 2 p.m. But that level was pretty crazy. So you're right. It's very interesting that this is, again, a level that we come into resistance to. RIP my microphone that I just dropped. But NVIDIA, this is a really, let's see what we do here, this 107.80s. I know Sean was involved in this game around this level, I believe, at one point. Let's see if we bounce. Sorry, guys, I don't have any trades on right now. Nothing coming into levels for me as of yet. Just watching, waiting, scheming, plotting, scheming, maybe getting some money. Another earnings play for me, because I said GitLab, Zscaler was kind of doing a lot of nothing at that time. It just had a big move down. But Dollar Tree, look at this. We get one bearish candle here, move down, rounded top, floosh. Now we're getting another rounded top. How many times can one stock rounded top, Sharif? I think we'll find out today with Dollar Tree. But what I do find interesting is this kind of hold of support at 65.50. I know I've said this time and time again. Me going long SSR stocks tends to have a bit of a dicey success rate. But if I believe in the trade, I will get involved. When will I believe in the trade, you may ask? I will need us to hold 66 because that was a bit of an area of resistance earlier, and we're rejecting it right now. If we hold 66, this could be route 66 for me to the upside within reason. If I have levels that make sense, we're going to wait, we're going to watch, we're going to breathe because I don't want to continue to make this mistake of going long SSR names. It's happened far too many times and never will. How are you doing? Hope that and Redfin trade's going well.
Yeah, I was telling Neil about this one in the morning. It was quite directional. We're trying to take it on a bounce right now. Let's talk about the small cap gappers because we didn't say anything about those. So we got ASST, it's kind of pulled back a little bit here below the volume weighted average price. That happens to be at $3. So it's a little bit below that, 2 3/4. So we'll keep an eye, see if it can catch a bid. It did find support at a nice area. So there was a consolidation area top at around 260 there. Looks like it may have gotten that area or the 50 exponential on the 5 on ASST. Decent look, nothing to write home about. FFIE, this one halted earlier on. A couple of times it looks like, well, maybe. Let's look at the 1 minute over here to see how many times it's halted. Yeah, 1, 2, 2 halts. So not too bad. On Faraday Future, I still don't see a headline for this. Let me just double check super quick. But we didn't need a headline for this a couple of weeks ago when it was running after 5 red sessions. Yeah, nothing on Faraday just telling me that it was halted and that sort of thing. Anyway, below the volume weighted average price right now, so not tradable under my system, nor does it have a definable pre-market high that we can base a level off. So just going to leave that. BNRG, this one was another good one to start the day. It's still up 13%, but as you can see, well off the highs. This one closed at almost $1.25, and now it's almost down to 137 after being at 187, knocking on the door at $2. Doesn't look like it's gonna continue here, so we'll keep tabs on that. SERV, obviously, this is not a small cap gapper, but I saw it was quite directional, zigging, zagging, a little bit below VWAP, a little bit above. It does look like the best trade is now behind it. That directional momentum trade looks like it was just, between that 10 to 10 or 10 to 10:45 hour, and then we really dropped aggressively. Held initially here at VWAP. Now we're working our way above VWAP, so maybe there is a trade. Maybe it was that 8 defending. It seemed to find a little bit of support off the 20 exponential on the 5. It's back up to 8 1/5 now, so we'll see if this one can work its way back up. I can see Refrain is now coming down here below the 10 exponential, so I'm going to break. If it breaks that high 50s area, we'll get out, and then if it bounces off the 20 exponential, we'll get back in. Last but not, well, there's a couple more. AAOI, I should say. Thought I had only one more. This one is interesting. The only thing about this one that I don't like is the volume, but it's at a great area. Finding support at the volume weighted average price off the highs by, about 65 pennies or so. The only reason I don't like it, guys, is $12. It's only done 2.43 million shares. Let me find out what the float is. It's about a $500 million market cap, so not really a small cap gapper. 36 2/3 million share float. And this one, I promise you, is the last one of the 8 here, WISA. So this was obviously very strong to start the pre-market there. 4 o'clock, there was umpteen amount of buyers. We did a decent amount of volume, and we also set nice tops there in the pre-market. We're above the pre-market high. We're above VWAP, but this topping tail candle here at 11 o'clock is ugly. There is an area of support here at 250, which didn't hold. So the area that I'm looking at now is the volume weighted average price right around that 2 1/3. If that holds, that'll be interesting. We'll keep WISA up on a trading screen here, see if we can weasel a trade on WISA. At the volume weighted average price, Adara.
That's a really good one.
That's the only one I've got.
Thank you, Sharif. I appreciate that.
No
I like the punning here on this desk. I went long Dollar Tree. I want to talk about it. To be fair, I saw the break above 66. I was like, wow. Poo, poo, shoo, poo. Don't know what words I'm using. It was beautiful. It's the point I'm trying to make. That break above 66. But I didn't get the first break. I got the retest. I don't know if this will work. We are having a bit of a topping tail candle. We're holding 66 right now in the book. I'm risking 25 cents. Here, I'm looking to add if we break above 66.40s, so not bad there. And then I want to be starting to piece out as we get near VWAP, not just because it's VWAP, mind you, but also because it is that 66.60 area, 666. Shout out to, the omen. Hopefully it's not going to be an omen for my trade, but hopefully we can Gregory Peck some profits out here with my beak wetter. I hope really someone understood this 70s horror film reference here, because I did put my heart and soul into that. That's good. Thank you. I appreciate that. So I see Neil eating over there, and it's reminding me that there's jerk chicken for lunch, which is kind of stressing me out because of my spice tolerance. But it's all good, baby. Hopefully this trade will be a dream. Couple cents in the money right now. Basically, I know this going long these SSR names or SSR bounce names can always be a little bit dicey. It generally has been for me, but for this, I watched that push up. We had confluence. We had, to me, quite a stream of green candles. And the reason I thought we had confluence too, the reason the balance of the evidence for me was along is because, look, we wick so many times here above that 66 level. We talked about, too, how you can use with trend lines. Shout out to Sharif for that awesome lesson. It's obviously the closing of the candles is going to be really key, but sometimes you can see where we wicked into, seeing sense of direction, a little bit of the psychology of some participants. So I see these attempts to push above here into the 9 EMA at 66, whole dollar level. I like it, I want it. As of right now, I do got it. So shout out to Ariana Grande. That reminds me, Starbucks. I know we had Sean looking at that one earlier, so let's see. As we see what shakes out of that Dollar Tree. Let's take a look. Oh my gosh, Starbucks, you're gonna push back because look at that umbrella handle pattern, not once but twice. We get that big move down, get a little, you guys know what you mean, like the scoop handle umbrella pattern, and then we see chimney dump to the downside. Another move down here. I should probably be babysitting Dollar Tree, though it's holding up pretty well. This Route 66 right now. Some more confluence, actually. The fact that we have that move down in the market. Dollar Tree is like, yeah, I'll hold 66. I'm like, I don't know if you'll still hold 66, but if you want to hold it for now, Dollar Tree, I would be pleased as punch. Hopefully we can make some dimes straight. I don't know if we're going to get Dollar Club and Dollar Tree, but if we can even get, right now we're in the dime club. So let's see what that goes for DLTR. Starbucks, if you're going to have all these patterns and all this volume, I'm booting somebody off my side chart. Who's going to go? Pandub. You got to go, Pandub. Oh, I like your spread. Nah. Starbucks for now. We'll see what shakes up. This is the best part about side charts, Sharif, is you can kick names off if they're disrespectful. You can switch them up. And let us know in this chat, exclamation point, join space, $ ticker, whatever you're looking at. Shout out to Bonkzilla saying no foam, please. Yeah, no foam for this year market. Yeah, Bears versus Bulls, remembering the umbrella handle pattern. I've been talking about this one for quite a while. It's one that I find to be a little bit interesting, can give you a sign of rainy days in this market. Let's see how we hold DLTR. I will be watching this one, not in the DL. I'll be watching this one out in the open. For DLTR. Let's see if we can continue to hold this vague uptrend. Shout out to Trends. How are you doing over here?
Good. Well, I just got stopped out of Redfin as it broke down below 60. So we're going to take the hit on this one too, and that's fine. I mean, that's just the situation, you know, we find ourselves in, can't get a good read on the market. We'll reset and look to see what we can do next. This one, it did breach the 10 exponential. I had a right idea, poor execution. So we'll see if this one can find its footing at around 10.5 or $10.45. That's going to be the next level I look at as an area of support. This one's been directional, so I want to take this one long. I don't necessarily want to look at a mean reversion trade. What I'd rather do is set up as a long at different areas of support. So the first area I'll be looking at, 10.45. The second area I'll be looking at about 10 to 5th. Maybe front running that a little bit at 10 1/4. Probably be at 10 1/4 because VWAP will probably work its way right back up there. So we'll keep tabs on this one. BLFY also found good support at VWAP, trying to work its way back into $1.50. This one's not going to give you much in the way of an actual move, dollars and cents wise. So you're going to have to size in here. Make sure that you're taking account of commissions when you do size into these, because it's not giving you a whole lot. Like, I mean, the closing print's $1.19, the high is $1.55. So you can, it's certainly predictable. It's trading well off key areas, but you're gonna have to move in big boy on this one in order to really get that move. So keep looking over here. We've just given up the ghost again at 19,000, but on the NQ September contract. But I want to point out that there's this area of possible support over here on the future. Well, the future definitely had support at 19,000, that closing print at 19,008. But there was price action support over here right where we are right now. So if we break down looking for VWAP, but then, you know, we could really see more negativity or more southern movement, more selling here on the market, and I kind of anticipate that at least until, you know, late October. And I think it goes a little bit even further this year because of the election, the uncertainty that presents. So we'll keep tabs on this. I don't have any trades right now. I've set up a dip trade on NVIDIA at the volume weighted average price to take a bounce off there. It's been a good trade off VWAP. Earlier, it did bounce off VWAP at around 10 and then again at 10.15. So we'll give it the old community college try here. We're still a little bit away from it. 70s we're printing, 107.70s on NVIDIA. I'm setting up in the high 30s, so still a little bit of time before that one gets printed. Yeah, that's basically it. I don't have much on the day today. It's been a bit of a tougher day for me. Started a bit negative, but this is the first day I've been negative in like almost 2 weeks. So, you know, we'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's definitely good to get into those happier streaks. Right now, like I said, I've been hiding my P&L, and I think I've, you know, just try to focus on the quality of the trade. Speaking of trades here, you know, hopefully this Dollar Tree trade is of higher quality than some of the things sold at Dollar Tree. No offense to Dollar Tree, just, you know, dollar store, bad
shade.
Joke. But I guess a little bit of shade under that Dollar Tree. Picture me getting shaded under a Dollar Tree. Halle Berry. Okay, if anyone knows Money Trades by Kendrick Lamar, shout out. I love that song. And I also love what Dollar Tree did at 66. Why I'm comfortable trading this, even though it is a lot cheaper than a lot of the stocks that I like trading, is because it has a spread. And for me, when I have those spreads, I feel more comfortable reading them. Dollar Tree was sitting at 66 in a way that had me very nervous. Jeez. We get 66.02s, 66.01s, 66. And you guys know when I have those big creep up or big creep down, I tend to find those to be bullish or bearish respectively. So I was like, okay, Dollar Tree, let's see if we got a runaway. There's like a coconut falling off the tree or something. But then Dollar Tree wicks into $65.99 on the bid and then we pop right back up. I'm like, okay, we had a retest. We had some strength. Like I said, I do have a bit of a natural trepidation towards trading some of these SSR names as longs because I do find they can be a little bit slippery, or at least I've always slipped there. They always catch me slipping, I'll put it that way.
Oh.
But right now, hopefully we're not getting any ice falling off this tree because I think this is a nice look. I think I've had no reason to believe, like I said, I'm risking 25 cents. Gonna add if we break above that 66.40s level. To be clear, that is pretty clear resistance, but it's kind of resistance that I think if we do break above it, there could be a nice further strength in that name. Shout out to Boeing 160.60 yesterday. It was the same kind of look. I was like, are we ever going to get above this resistance? And then, you know, you might not. That's the thing, too. But if you're willing to wait for it, if you have patience and you're waiting and it's still within your risk reward parameters, then sometimes those moves can be really sweet and be really fruitful. Like a fruit tree. I'm going to stop making these tree puns. I really like that look you have there on Amazon with that bottoming tail candle, too, Sharif. I saw that you got in there, and I was like, ooh. NVIDIA, too, which I know, I like this.
Oh.
I like this look in NVIDIA. Look at the way we're like trying to hold there, planting our feet at 107.50. That is a nice look. I'm going to wait till I'm at a dollar tree to get involved in anything else. If I were to get involved in anything here, I don't think it'd be NVIDIA. GitLab, still interesting near VWAP, but IWM, I don't want to trade this one on an IWM, but the Russell 2000 is trying to hustle back here, bouncing off VWAP like some of these other names. AMD, fiddling around with VWAP. We had NVIDIA with VWAP. Look at this IWM. Are we still in a downtrend? Yes. Shout out to Trend Day. But if we break above this 90 EMA, if we break above that 214, 13, that'd be an interesting look for me. So I actually might trade this at the same time as Dollar Tree once the Dollar Tree decides what direction it'd like to shake. Let's find out what happens there. And I do want to hear about your Amazon long because it looks like you were in the money. I'm pleased this punch for you. I love that entry.
Thank you, Adara. We're looking for a 175 touch. You know, we're trying to get back into Greensville here. We're red on the day, full disclosure. That's the way it is. And oh, by the way, I'm reading, well, not reading, listening to books on a tape. I told you about this on Spotify. Yeah, I can, Ram, believe it or not. I don't know. They made me read in school, Ram. I tried to stop it, but they insisted that I learn. No.
You two are ridiculous. I love it.
We're having a good time.
Shout out to the Ramin and Sharif Comedy Hour.
Yeah. Nobody can hear Ram. That's why we're trying to get this woman a mic. She's got a mic. She doesn't want to use it. Yeah, she's got one. She doesn't want to use it.
Maybe made it work. I just don't like it.
But that's so. What was I saying, Adara? Yes, I'm reading Diary of a CEO by Stephen Bartlett. And so he's like one of the chapters. So all the chapters are laws, Adara. Okay, each law, and then he gives his reason why he believes in that law. So I think it's chapter or law 21 or something like that. He's like, out-fail people.
I like that.
Out-fail people. The premise is if you don't fail, you're not experimenting. If you're not experimenting, you're stagnant. And you're going to be stagnant. You're done as a competitor, right? So that's the look there. That's what I've been thinking about. And I tried to apply that to trading, right? I'm like, dog, if you're going to stick with the setups that you're comfortable with, that you think you printed on in the past, well, then you're not expanding your horizon. Sure, traders want to stay in their lane and stuff, but you know, I can't pretend like I don't know even 1% of what there is to know. So if I'm not experimenting, I don't know what else I can get better at. So I just wanted to mention that today. You know, I listen to that book when I do my walk. And so if I can pass on that knowledge, I'll pass that on. It's not only knowledge I can drop around. So I took nicely 35 pennies there on, what's it called, Amazon. We'll look to basically take this short or long. Again, I don't want to let it off the hook. It's still a bit of a downtrend. Hasn't put in a newer high. A newer high comes in above that 175.10 area there. So we'll keep, there was some tags here. Shout out to my man, Adam. I appreciate you, Adam. But still, you know, nothing to write home about. But it's been a good couple of weeks. Kyle Burdett, shout out to Halle Berry in Monsters Ball. Heck of a performance in that living room. Shout out
I know
to
what
you.
he's getting at.
Oh, yeah. I haven't seen that movie, but I'm assuming there's some innuendos there, Adara.
Well, she won her Oscar for it, but that scene is like, it's known for other reasons.
Graphic, eh? Okay.
Yeah,
well,
but I just shouted out that line in that song there. Also, there was a super chat from Kyle Burdett I think we forgot about earlier.
Oh, my bad.
Sorry, I apologize we missed it. I just remembered it now.
Sorry, Big Spal.
$4.99 super chat from Big Spal Burdett. The unofficial midday show sponsor is listening in short. the ES using SPX puts. Big Chief, I sent you the plan on IG. Hope everyone prints today. Thank you, Kyle. We hope everyone prints today as well. Thank you for sending us that. And shout out to Big Spalbert. Shout out to all everyone who gets to be here with us. And thank you for all the super chats and all of the support. Kyle, I want to actually bounce off what you said there too.
Yeah, go for it.
With regards to not being afraid to fail.
Yeah.
Because like I said, my thing, I was like, oh, my first week live, I had 4 to 5 green days. Yeah, we're talking like green by a hair, and we're talking like I wasn't really. There wasn't a lot of there was effort being put in, but it was a lot of very kind of basic trades. I was trading just to be green. I wasn't trading because I loved the trades. I wasn't trading because I had confidence or confidence or balance of the evidence or conviction. Shout out to Law and Order Conviction. I was really just trading because I wanted to be green. And so then when I went back to the style, and I want to shout out Sharif for some of the conversations that led to this. Once I got back in, I was really, focusing on what I did in the sim, what worked. And once you're focusing, and once you're trading for yourself, once you're not afraid to lose because you're trying to
gain knowledge, I think that can be really key here as well. Also, shout out to Adam DeLuz.
Adam.
£5 super chat. Trading up and down Tim Hortons, beers, Blue Jays. Toronto's going to be great. Can't wait to visit at the end of this month. Let's go.
Can't wait to have you, homie. We've been waiting for a hot minute. The floor is ready. You know, we're going to show you around, Adam. Obviously, we're going to be going out, so can't wait to have you over, brother. And it's been a hot minute since you and I found out we were both Arsenal fans. What's that, Ram Ram? I'm not even going to read that. Ram Ram, you want something? Put on the mic and ask him. That's the way it is, Ram Ram, okay? So shout out to Ram Ram. Yeah, I love it. Shout out to Adam DeLuz, man. For real, thank you for the 5 quid super chat, my man out there from London. So shout out to him. All right, let's have a look over here at NVIDIA, Ram. And the thing about this one is it came down into that area that I'd like to take a long at. I was waiting at 39s or 40s. This thing came down to 52s. I had the right idea. It didn't execute. So now what's the next move? Sharif, are we bouncing off here? We're back into positive on NVIDIA, but I'm talking marginally here, 0.07% in the green. It is at that break-even level. I'm talking about that 108-ish area. That is the closing print from yesterday on NVDA, and we've had a lot of interaction with this 108 area, especially early on, right? Because let me show you what I'm talking about. Here's the 5-minute look on NVDA. We definitely had wicks that breached this 108 in the IB, the implied balance open, which goes essentially from 9:30 to 10:30, which we know because we did an entire week on that. Shout out to Dan, the dang man Emmons. But we breached that 108 area, and then we zigged and zagged quite substantially here with 108.50 at the high and then 106 at the low in the same 5-minute candle. Then we take that level decisively. So I'm all eyes and ears to see whether this 108 area is going to act as an area of resistance or support today. Undecided right now, seeing that we're literally at the area, pennies away from it. So interesting area for NVDA. It does call into question, though, my resting order at the volume-weighted average price. A couple of reasons. One, it's shown you its propensity not to respect or not to come back into VWAP, at least lately. It did initially. That's number one. Number two, VWAP and the closing print are awfully close together. So number one, I don't want to get stuck within that range. Number two, it could reject off the closing print and completely disrespect VWAP, not use it as support at all, which, by the way, is at around that 107 1/3. So a couple of candles of indecision here on NVIDIA has me feeling not sure exactly how to trade this. So we'll pack our patience there. The dead one, Apple, kind of setting up what could be, again, this is confirmation bias until it manifests, what could be a double bottom, a bullish double bottom. And the reason I say that is because the left side of the W a little bit lower than the right side. The only way to confirm that, though, is to get a break of this middle part of the W above $220.25. We're weaseling back above the volume-weighted average price on Apple with a bottoming tail candle into 218. So around 219 1/3. I'm going to be all eyes and ears at this 220 1/3, 220 1/4 Adara to see whether or not we can manifest that double bottom and possibly retrace. But I got to tell you, something is afoot with Apple. I think somebody's offloading a position again. Here's my theory. Just, take it with a grain of salt. Was it Friday? Yeah, it was Friday. Friday, the market was very green. Apple was the only Mag 7 name that was red. I initially thought that it was resistance at 230. you know, and people were taking profits as we weaseled up there. There seems to be, you know, some more aggressive selling in Apple, which just happens to coincide with some upgrades and these, you know, these kind of good comments about Apple coming out as being a big AI play. To me, just my suspicious mind thinks that, you know, once people have positioned and they've got the shares that they want, these rating agencies and big money buyers, then all of a sudden they drop the news items for everybody else to comprehend and digest once they've built their position. So I'm going to be a little bit suspicious here with the price action on Apple. Of late, I won't be adding until a 200 breach. That's just my position. I have enough shares in my personal account from wherever I'm holding it from, and then I added again at 200 on the dip on that Black Monday. I'm not going to be adding again until it breaks that $200 level. So that's my move on Apple, and I feel something is afoot with it that isn't entirely kosher at the moment. So that's just my, you know, suspicion and 2 cents, and yeah, have at it.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Sharif, for going over that. Yeah, and I think it's interesting. I think you have to go based on what, like, sometimes you see patterns, they don't necessarily make sense, but all you know is it's something that you see, right? And you're right, it is interesting for sure. Analyst notes on Apple, that's one of the ones that I find gets the most backhanded upgrades or downgrades, right? Like, we talked about this a lot.
Exactly.
When we say backhanded upgrade or downgrade, we mean like an upgrade that is actually kind of like with a negative note, or we get a downgrade with a positive note, so it's really bamboozling. Apple, according to my memory, which is not bad. Generally, I find tends to get a lot of those. Also, you know, speaking of memory, you might remember I was long Dollar Tree. Added to my Dollar Tree long as we got above 66.40. Then I switched. So my average at this point was 66.20s. Then I was like, okay, you know what, Adara, get out at 66. If you break below 66, you want to get off route 66 into something else. So get out of Dollar Tree. Then I see the way we break down 66. I'm like, oh my gosh, Adara, this should be a short. This should be short. This should be short. Right as I'm starting to think this, Dollar Tree's like, I was like, come on, Dollar Tree. You're not going to let me try? So I couldn't get filled. Canceled my order to get filled. Was like, cool, whatever. Then we have a false break of 66. I was like, okay, I'm not going to get. We're going to stop watching Dollar Tree because it seems like it just wants to move 20 cents and bamboozle. Should I get short Dollar Tree in case this does occur? I will be getting short at 66. Nowhere else. I will be risking into 66.20s, and I will be adding a free break below 65.75. So basically using the same levels that I liked on the initial trade, using those, flipping them, reversing them to make it into a short. SPCE. Do I want to be trading SPCE here when the market is in a bit of a state? Not at all. But 421 was a level I liked. You know, I'm not going to lie, 421 did something for me. When we had that initial move on SPCE last week with all of the Hindenburg short report, and then we have the news that they're delaying their annual report. Look at this. Oh my gosh, Sharif.
What happened, Adara?
Look at all of this support here that we have just above that 421, and then we wick up into VWAP and we can't hold it. But this looks kind of umbrella handly, which is the only reason I haven't hopped in, but I like that 421 level. I like how we're trying to hold it. If we keep holding this level with the spread getting kind of as tight as it is, bit of a curl up here in the bid, I would love to curl into that trade and see what develops. I've also been watching my SPY having a heck of a rejection here on a closing basis on the 5-minute. We talked about closing basis and trends. Look at that closing. Like, this candle says, leave me alone, bulls. This candle says, bulls, get out my face. Look at that rejection. I actually drew these levels yesterday. Look at this bounce here off 551.60. To me, it's a really interesting look. Maybe not yesterday. Recently, I drew them. If we bounce here, I'm cool with that. But I'll be getting out before the bulls get out my face candle at 552.30, because if it wants me to get out its face, I respect that. I would like to see us hold. I want to see one more kind of test and hold here at 551.70s. If we do that, like I said, take it long 552.30s. I'll be risking here into 50s. So risking like 20 pennies trying to make about 60. That is a 3-to-1 risk to reward ratio. You know what I call that?
What?
Realistic and not bad. So the DLTR short would have worked. That's fine. I don't want to push into that. It's so frustrating when every stock comes to your level, because then you have to make hard choices.
Good call.
Right? Like, I'm going to be honest with you. At least I find it a little bit.
That's the way it is, yeah.
GTLB finally maybe trying to get off the schneid here and break below VWAP. This is a level I liked earlier at 53. I know where I would risk it into, like the 53.20, or I'd get short 53.20, risk it into 53.40. Those are some levels I liked. The point is, I think if GTLB gives up VWAP, it's all she wrote.
Oh.
And I would like to be the one. I would like to be the she, and it's all she wrote.
That's
I would like to be
nice.
the one holding the pen. So let's see if I can be the writer of my own trade here on this GTLB. I'd love to get into that GitLab, do an experiment. SMCI still looking really bullish here. Yeah, I just have a lot of decisions to make. I apologize, guys. Not in any trades right now. Waiting to see what sets up. Though I do have to say I'm immensely proud of the dollar trade. I was able to get out of that before we hit that market floosh because I followed my plan. Did take a hit, but as 21 Savage says, take less L's, make more M's. And as Neil said, your losing trade should be boring. DLTR, snooze fest.
So true.
Oh, I wish I was back in that short.
So true.
Grr. How are you feeling?
Good. I took 35 pennies on Astis Adera. It's back and it looks fantastic. What a directional move here for ASTS. Like, this is pretty buy programmy here. And the buy program looks like it got turned on right at 10 o'clock because that's where the hammer candle, actually it is a hammer candle. And there has been how many candles since 10 o'clock? Let's count them. Well, we should be able to do it based on the time. So so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and then 19, 20, 21, 2, 3, 4, and we're on 5 now. Okay, so within 25 candles on Astis on the 5-minute chart, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red candles. So 20 green candles on the 5-minute, 5 red candles, and you can see this has been awfully directional. And even better about this is that it found its footing right at yesterday's closing print, right at that 29 1/3. Great move. The reason I got into this, it dipped into the 10 exponential moving average. That's all I needed. Something this directional. The 10 should be what you need. I got in. I didn't hold enough, obviously, and now it is above 36. But that doesn't mean Astis is done. Let's actually bring in the side chart here to have a look at where resistance could be found on ASTS. And then I'll give you the details on this. Okay, so we're definitely not at local highs. Local highs take us back to August 19th and August 20th. The 19th, we closed high, but on the 20th, we wicked higher. So the 20th took us all the way up into that $40.33 area. And we've been putting in lower highs and lower lows since. That is until we found a bit of a consolidation phase here between the 28th and the 3rd. And then we get a big boy green day again to hold the trend. It's an absolute love affair here between ASTS and the 20 exponential moving average on the daily. Yes, on the daily, not on the 5. Look how many times it's held, wicks or otherwise, with the 20 exponential moving average. ASTS, beautiful look here, guys. AST Space Mobile. What does this company do? Build cellular broadband network in space. Oh, to operate directly with standard unmodified mobile devices. Dog, that's serious. Without having to put like these towers everywhere, you could have a way wider, what do they call that? What's the word I'm looking for? Line of sight. Line of sight from space, way better than line of sight from, obviously, from Earth. The terrestrial towers that we set up here only have a limited line of sight because of the curves. Flat earthers, don't come at me, right? So that's the look there. This is a really interesting name. It's a fantastic looking chart, man. This chart is serious. From May to the highs that we put in there in mid-August, it's up 1,500%. Okay. So this is very interesting here. ASTS. Intraday, though, what we're looking at in terms of resistance is going to be every prior day's high. So this candle over here on August 23rd takes us to 37.20. The day prior to that takes us to 37.65. So we're going to have incremental resistance, it looks like, because of how high we were to end the month of August. But ASTS, we traded as a small cap gapper, and we're not really putting a lot of respect on its name. At least I wasn't. I'm not talking for anybody else. But this is really interesting. The chart is fantastic. The idea seems really cool too. Obviously, it's like kind of like a SpaceX rival, you have to assume. Or not SpaceX. Yeah, SpaceX, because it's Starlink. Starlink's still under SpaceX, which is interesting. See what Brazil's doing over there? Yeah. That's an interesting story, eh? X and Starlink. So they banned X. That's all over. And until they get appealed, right? And then in order for Starlink, Adera, to stay in Brazil, they had to ban X on Starlink's data. So anybody in Brazil using Starlink cannot access Twitter or X or whatever. I don't know how I feel about that.
Well, it's interesting too. I was reading someone on CNBC apparently was saying that they actually think this could be bad for Tesla too, because Elon has been putting so much energy into X and into his other projects. That's already been a concern for some Tesla investors.
Absolutely.
So a lot of the hard Tesla bulls actually love it. But anyways, this investor is like, or this analyst was kind of like, this could be a bit of a dicey look for Tesla, just given the amount of effort that Elon has been pouring into those other projects already. So yeah, I think it'll be really interesting to see what's going on there going forward.
Hold on,
certainly bounce back.
Neil was saying something. I need to address this because Neil's absolutely right. He's like, don't look at the PS of Astis and don't look at any of the fundamentals of Astis because it's not going to check out, right? This is a growth story. It's definitely not proven of any sort. So Neil's absolutely right there. If you're going to invest in this, it's got to be based on technicals. Otherwise, Alfred would get very mad. So shout out to Big Spile Burdette, $4.99 super chat. My man always was with the innuendos. Shout out to the curves. Have at it, Big Spile. Have at it. But the earth is flat. Yeah, I knew I should have said anything. Shout out Adrian Dotman. I hope, whatever. Cool. He believes that. Have at it, baby. No issue with me. Still keeping my my dip trade here set up on NVIDIA at the volume weighted average price. I don't think I'm going to hold on to this look anymore. We're putting in lower highs and lower lows right now, both on the future and a lot of these Mag 7 names. So look, unless we take out 19,000 and hold it, I'm just not going to test the waters here on the long on the Mag 7 Adair unless or like a Big Spile's going to get down. Yeah, we all know you want the world to burn, Big Spile. No, of course not. He doesn't want the world to burn. I'm just kidding there. But he is more short than he is long there. So that's
I mean, as someone who also likes shorts, I'll say rawr to that. Shout out to the Bears in the house. So Dollar Tree did not get that move, was not able to get short that. Still watching that. IWM, though.
UM.
I like this. Yeah, UM. I like this 213.50 breakdown. Not going to rush into that, though, because I like NVIDIA, and I also like what Neil's going to have to say here. Kill him with kindness. NEAL. Best ticker on the market. Oh, sorry. I didn't know it was going to happen right now. I apologize. I was not aware of Ramin. It's all good there. It was all a dream. Wait, are we ready now? No? Okay, cool.
Okay.
We're going to keep talking. IWM, that candle. And now, let's find out what candles Neil's looking at.
Your lesson of the day today is going to be brought to you by Moomoo and some small cap names I'm going to talk about. So Moomoo, if you're looking to maximize your idle cash, then for Canadian users, enjoy 6% annual on cash balances up to $10,000 for 60 days, along with a 2-month commission-free program. You can also earn up to $2,300 in cash rewards when you transfer your portfolio. Both rewards can be enjoyed at the same time. With Moomoo, you'll gain access to comprehensive data on stocks, options, and ETFs. Plus, take advantage of algo trading, allowing you to create, backtest, and execute your own strategies. Set up instant alerts to trade on your own signals, helping you to take your trading game to the next level, everybody. And it's interesting that the only reason, whatever, like every single day, the lesson of the day is going to be hinged on something that's moving or we learned that morning. And I feel like when I was looking at that ASTS, which I know Sharif was just talking about, and we're talking about fundamentals not mattering, and I was looking at this and Chewy and GameStop, and I wanted to sort of talk about when you get these relief rallies after a major rejection on squeeze names, where there's not like a fundamental reason for it to go up, where the stock has a overwhelming tendency to pull back heavily, where it's already done so to a certain degree. So I'm going to start with GameStop, and I'll get to ASTS here and why it can be dangerous to chase some of these when you look at some past levels. So GameStop, if you've been following along with this one, and as I said, I'll get to the other ones a bit later, just to set the stage. Last 3 sessions, you were ramping to the upside on GME up until the open yesterday. So if we come to the chart for a second, you'll see this was at like $20 to 22, 10% move. You're going 21.80 into 24, another 10% kind of day. It tries to break it out, and then you get the rejection. So this is where it's coming through the back end of this trade, and you're getting a little bit of a change of what was the pattern. There's your 2 strong up days. You're getting a bit of a rejection. The daily chart is never going to be favorable on GameStop. But when it starts to go, the first thing I think about is, okay, you break out a local high, so it's trying to make a bit of a move. But if it never takes out or gets back into that fresh top, holds this prior, call it theoretical head and shoulders before it gets there, you've got to be really careful chasing that long. Because the obvious area of resistance, anybody that trades these knows if you're not trading on fundamentals, you're trading on hype and then some technicals. Well, if you can't get past that fail spot where it turned huge, we're talking a 20% move and it turned up at 24. Well, if it can't get up there, a lot of times that's a really bad place to buy because a failure is likely to give you that big V shape. And it's not always going to get back down into the bottom, but that's a dangerous, dangerous place to be hunting that long. Now, buying dips early, fair enough. It held a support level. You make the break, but once it couldn't get back to 24, you've got to be a little bit cautious. And I looked over at another name, which on essentially no one used, just basically a sympathy play. You had Chewy. Now, Chewy isn't the exact same look, but it's adjacent to it, where there had been a pretty decent rally going back into here. You can see on the 28th, there's your breakout, tries to get to 30.5. After that, the lower high is at 30, and then a couple of days of resistance when you get to 29.5 before it gets to 30. So in sympathy, it breaks out, trying to go, and then look where it runs into resistance. Not the high, that lower high previously. It cannot chew through it. That's a very dangerous place. If you're looking at this and say you're only looking at a 3-minute chart, what you might see in that moment is, okay, it bounces, it's trending up, it bounces off VWAP, it's retaking some of those highs. This looks awfully strong. It's consolidating above the previous breakout price, but it's overhead resistance at that 29.5 level, really tight to the top. So it's a dangerous place to enter along when you look back at that 15-minute chart. It doesn't mean, hey, you just sit there and go short. It's not that simple. But it is a very dangerous place to roll into that one in the other direction. So I think you got to be careful in the long side. So you got to be careful with some of these. When in doubt, zoom out, especially runners that don't necessarily have a big catalyst and have already rejected the level prior. Now, there's a bit of a difference with the last one, because I promised I would get to ASTS here. Now, ASTS is a little bit different from the other two. And you're going to be able to sort of see why in here. So like ASTS, I'm not going to pretend that it got all the way to the top at 39. But when it made its breakout, let's call the break, I'm calling the breakout here, at 31 off the open. It was higher early right there in the pre-market. It then ran stops at the open to the downside. But the breakout kind of happens where you can get through after the open, you get through that local high. Let's just call it 31.5. Make it even more simple. So you're breaking out these local highs and rallying, rallying, rallying. Now, the difference between ASTS and the others is it tries to reverse here, traps the shorts, but instead of consolidation long, when it breaks away from that lower high, right in here, the next level, ASTS is able to break back out. So instead of trying to buy the dip or try to take it before it gets to the overhead resistance, once it's broken it, it's step to the next step, which is another cautionary level here for ASTS. Now, when people say stocks have memory, generally what they mean is prices that people are comfortable buying in the past, they might be comfortable buying in the future, and where people are looking to sell a stock, they might look to sell in the future. Now, this has a 3,700 price to sales. I would imagine there's going to be people trying to take profits when you get 20% gains. And what more obvious place than the place where it dumped before? So the difference with ASTS and what made it different is that it got to that level. I think it's a dangerous buy the dip in that situation because that's exactly the spot that it could crater. But when it breaks it back out and is above that 34, you've got room to go to 36. If it's a parabolic mover, if it's a short squeeze, then there's nothing wrong with it letting it squeeze through a price instead of always trying to get that perfect entry when it's going in lower. So when you look at these moves, I think you could have easily avoided GameStop long at the high because it failed in front of that 24, that prior resistance level there. I think you could have easily avoided getting trapped in Chewy at that top around $29.50 because, again, failed that resistance level and there was no breakout above it. So it's better to just stay away from buying that top until it's confirmed strength over that prior resistance. And what they all had in common, and even ASTS, which continue to go, is when you zoom it out and you look at the top of the local squeeze move, none of them broke through the absolute top. But it's like a station to station type of play once you're on the breakout. Now, if they clear everything out, then shorts at pretty much every local price are out of the money, and that's a different story. But you have to remember, people that got that top are still in the money. People that reloaded those shorts are still in the money before you've broken those levels. So be careful when you get to them, especially after there's already been a hefty pullback at the price you're looking at. That's indicating to you that there's profit takers at those levels and some shorts that are winning. And when that's the case and there's no catalyst, you want to be careful buying those highs. There's nothing wrong with buy high, sell higher in a big trend, but you should be very, very wary of doing it right into overhead resistance, especially on these low float, high short type runners. So that's your lesson of the day. And good luck to anybody that's in ASTS. It has been a good one for you, Long. Just be careful.
Thank you very much, Neil. Eloquent, informative, and just all around awesome as always. Neil Roberts, everybody. He's dropping hot lines every day around that noon hour. So if you're with us, check him out. He's always dropping hot lines. Guys, I'm in Amazon at the moment. Adara is in a photo shoot, so she'll be joining us back in a second. Took the long here on the Zon as a result of it coming back into the volume weighted average price. Already wet my beak there quickly on a 15-penny winner. Let's see if we can weasel our way into 175. The range, at least for the last like 20, maybe a little bit more minutes, has been essentially the volume weighted average price. There have been breaches on a wick basis and that 175 area. So what better way to play the range than to actually engage in it? So we'll see if we can wet our beak in and around that whole dollar level. Let's put the print around 88s to see if we can weasel up there. The break of the $half will see me get out of this trade, but we already took a little bit of profit on it. Now, I got to tell you, the future highly undecided at the moment. We're a little bit above 19,000. We're a little bit below 19,000. I don't like these kind of consolidations that are at key levels. I don't like them because you can't base, well, I shouldn't say you can't. It's harder to base a trade off them. So if I'm trying to base something off 19,000 on the NQ September contract or yesterday's closing print at, say, 19,008, it's a lot harder to do if it's just interacting with it and kind of using it as the line of best fit. You know, that's kind of what it looks like to me right now on the future. We're a little bit above. Okay, we're catching a bit of a bid here. The future's pumping up a little bit through the quarter. Okay, get it, Katina, man. So we're going to see if we can continue to move up here. We just made another high. What's going on over there? I need to know. Dollar long on NVDA. Shout out to the Katina, man. He's in a dollar in the money on the monster NVIDIA. 107. Well, that is a dollar in the money. 107.60. AMD 140.80. 140.80 long on AMD, $1.50 in the money there. Shout out to the Dan Katina man. And we just took the print, Mr. Katina man, on that Amazon long. Okay, we started the day badly. We're working back a little bit here. We'll see what we get by the end of the day. Took the dip trade on the volume weighted average price. Get it, Katina man. NVIDIA is in an absolute state of pump. It is on the way up to 109. Likely the reason that the future is moving up here, Ram. NVIDIA moving up aggressively. The future moving up aggressively. Here are the local highs. We are at the local highs right now in the future. Sorry to jump from one thing to another. I do apologize. This has been the range we've been at on the future. 19,033 seems to be a local area top. We haven't been above that level since 11:30. We're going on an hour right now. So a bit of a local area of consolidation on the futures, much like the consolidation area that I just took on the Zon. So we'll see what we get there. Now, if I had to choose a weapon to my head, I won't say the other one so that we don't get demonetized on YouTube, but Meta. Meta is the one that looks very, very directional today. It's not up by that much. It's not even at 2/3 of a percentage yet. It's very close, 0.61. But this one has been money off either the 10 or the 20 exponential. The latest little dip there on the 5 came in at 5 after the hour. And if you got in there, you got in at 5.13 1/4. Well, guess what? It just printed 5.15 1/3. So it would have been $2 in the money. Meta, very directional today and maintaining, a decent look Initially, though, I had my qualms with Meta because the range per candle was way too wide and we were very wicky, indecisive. Like the wicks were much bigger than the body of the candle and they were on both sides, the north side and the south side. So I couldn't get a read. I feel it's a little bit different right now. So Meta looking real good over here. The dead one, Apple, also in a bit of a range itself, even though it's putting in higher lows. It does seem to find a seller every single time as it weasels into that 50 exponential moving average on the 5-minute chart. And look what it did over here at the 50, right at 11:05. Breached the 50, which you could also make the argument it breached 220, which is also an important area. Right back down, making that 218 print, which is a local low. Get it? So we'll see exactly what we can get here on AAPL, whether it's long or short, I don't care. Right now, it's rejecting again off the 50, not by the whole lot, but 20 pennies lower right now. We'll have to see if we can weasel into a trade right now, Adara, on these. Meg 7, how was the shoot?
The shoot was okay. I don't necessarily love getting my photo taken. I feel like
Why not?
I don't know. I like being a camera. Apparently, if I have photos of, I was like, what's the post? You know what I mean? I feel like I always think it turns out well, and then it's really awkward. Like the ones I took for like my post-grad photos, like I look like a scared deer that like has a gun in front of it. Like it's not, I don't know. I feel like I always think they look okay till I see them. But right now what I'm seeing is, yeah, I like, congrats on that Amazon trade. Really nice look there. There's a lot of, there's a lot going on in these Mag 7s. I'm just trying to keep aware of NVIDIA looking nice and strong, Apple interesting. And yet I'm still here looking at non-Mag 7 names. DLTR, I was like, ew. It was already, to be clear, already below 65 by the time I sat down. It was like, oh, 65 short would be dope. Risk it into that hard support area, 65.25. DLTR was like, cool. How about I drop 50 pennies before you have the chance to react? Is that cool? I'm like, I mean, it's not, but you're going to do what you're going to do. Dollar Tree. I want to clarify as well.
Get it.
I stand by the fact I went long on this earlier. I think there was something in the chat like to the effect of like, you know, it's not contrarian to go against, to go like long when a stock's down 20%. It's against market wisdom. I think that's fair, but I think there are real potential reversion trades. I waited for the Dollar Tree long. It was a moment where they were setting up. I handled it accordingly. To me, I'm zero qualms about that. I'm qualmless. So it's one of the things I like about this community is it gives you the opportunity to get all of these different opinions on things and to kind of build your own perspective on the Eastern market. So that is my take on that. So I just wanted to spit up on that. I do appreciate this whole community, this whole market, and I just wanted to share an opine, if I may, on my thoughts on the Dollar Tree long.
By the way, it's coming into an interesting area. What are your thoughts about the lows there? Is that your kind of thing or no?
I would short this if I see something I like at 65, and I say that because of all these topping tail candles. That being said, you're right. We are, like, I have no qualms going long, as I just said, right? So I think you're right. If we hold this area that you're talking about, that 64.60s, we break above 65, that 65 is going to be my litmus test. Below 65 short, above 65 long, over, under. Let's see which way the dice will roll. Wow, GitLab, I missed that VWAP short. I could say grr, or I could be happy with the short I had initially on it. So you know what? I'm going to choose to be happy with the short I had. Arguably could have risked way more here in that initial short, and that's fine. That's all good. You live, you learn, you aggressively journal, and you try to find some more trades. This is another one that's very interesting to me. We hold just above 52. I go long with this 52.20 area. Break below it, we go short. I have a feeling we're trying to curl up to give a fake hold and then break lower. Look at all of these topping tail candles. Let's see what way these candles point and which way we go here. I'm going to stop recapping everything soon. I promise, guys. Just looking here to see what's setting up for me. McKee, the long would have been right. I wouldn't have been able to do it anyway with the photo shoot, so that's fine. No regrets there.
Oh.
Sorry for the gasping, but IWM, my WM. Oh my gosh. Look at this. Russell. Wow. Wow, we're pushing above the 90 MA. Wow, we have support here at VWAP. And it's confluence with that previous area of resistance. This is a really interesting level here for me on IWM. And I actually don't even think I'd risk it into VWAP. I would go long here. Let's see if we get a retest of this topping tail candle here, 75s. I'd risk it into 50s, risking 25 cents. I would be looking to add, if we break above these topping tail candles here at that 214, 13 area, which is an area I said I liked earlier as well. You know what? I don't know if we're going to get filled. We're going to get a dip buy setup here, 76s. We're going to have a little bit of a position here. Let's see. Again, not sure I'll get filled, but you do miss 100% of the trades you don't make. And sometimes even the trades you try to make, you still might miss. But it's about putting in the effort. It's about trying to take those fills, trying to make those trades. AMD bouncing off VWAP. Starbucks, continuing to be like King Bamboozler. Yes, Starbucks getting pumpkin spicy for me over here. Let me tell you. Also, I have a bone to pick with Starbucks and the fact that they only do the hot version of that apple crisp drink now, not the cold version. When I first started the cold version, I was working retail. I told all my coworkers, I was like, this tastes like a candle, but in a good way. And it did. It really did.
That's interesting.
And now they don't make it cold anymore. Rant over. The point is, this stock's looking pretty apple crispy here. So let's see if we can get some caffeine on this one. I like this because we have higher lows, but to me, I drew up this range because I love. And to be fair, this is tight. This is not even 20 pennies. But there's some levels of interaction I find interesting in Starbucks. If I find anything set up, I'll take the trade. Right now, I think the ovens are still warming up. They're still getting the first little pumps out of the espresso machine. So not sure a direction yet. But if a direction sets up, I know what levels I like. I know I'll be going after it with the viciousness and with an aggression. And IWM was like, oh, you wanted to do 214 at 213.75? Dip by? Cool, I'm above 214 now. Happy for you, IWM. But you know what? That's okay, IWM. I don't want to chase you, but there's an area that I just mentioned that if you come into and you rest, I'll go long. And that area, actually, we're kind of in it. Never mind. We're actually basically here now. This area is just above 214s. If we do a retest here of this, what is this, 89s, I'd go long 90s and risk into 75s. That's what I'm really trying to do. Sometimes you're not going to get your first level, but you can use the levels you liked initially as entry points as maybe stops. Right? That's what I did for Lululemon last week, and that did end up definitely working out for me. So yeah, Lulu said hoo-hoo. So that was I don't know what that meant, but we'll see what happens here on this IWM. I like this look. How are you doing?
I'm good. You know, I just aspire to be able to taste a meal or a drink that tastes like candles. Like, I mean, that's kind of like what I want.
I that a lot at work.
Don't you want to eat food that tastes like candles? Okay. Well, I do. Neil, you're not part of the joke. You didn't get it. And then you're asking, huh? Like, come on. I'm just teasing, bro. Yeah, well, I mean, Bears versus Bulls wants to know as well, right?
Dude, candles taste like crayon.
I saw that,
They're both kind of waxy.
Just asking for a friend.
Kind of tastes like waxy, I guess.
Like, hey, we both say funny stuff out here, so let's not,
Shout out.
Yeah, shout out. So I'm short Apple at this level because it weaseled its way into 220 again. So we're just going to give this one the old college try, see if we can print a little bit here on Apple. 220 has been an interesting level all morning. You've had breaches of the level, though. It's got up into 220 and a quarter. We are putting in, as I said, a bit of a higher low off that 217.60. We put in a low off 218, last time. So the lows are getting a little bit higher, but that 220 is still in place. So we're going to give this one a little bit of a try, see if it wants to work its way back down, maybe into the volume weighted average price at around that 219 and a quarter, 219 a third, wherever VWAP's hanging out at the time when it does weasel its way down there. So let's pack our patience here with the dead one Apple and see what we get. We're already printing on it here. Let's just see if we can get down a little bit more. So that's a look there on Apple. We did work our way aggressively higher. Not aggressively higher. Big Spy was getting upset with me because I was pumping up NVIDIA. He's like, hey, it's only up $1. But that's the look. So I'm looking basically to see whether we can work our way back down into 19,000 or 19,010 in and around that area. If I had to choose the best ones to take long, I said earlier that I'd really be looking at Meta, but now it's kind of Tesla's back in the game, baby. It held that 20 exponential beautifully here. 219. What's up? What's going on? The Katina man's back $1 AMD. He's what 140, 150, 140, 160 area. Shout out to him. AMD very strong, up 3.4% today on the back of that headhunting, or they poached a guy from NVIDIA that had to do with AI worldwide expansion. He's going to be working for AMD now. So we'll keep tabs, obviously, on that. But Tesla looking really strong here. That's a beautiful rounded bottom. Shout out to Big Spile. And it held the 20 exponential really well here, Ram, because that's with the yellow line that it was holding, put incrementally higher lows. Now we're putting incrementally higher highs. We're still below, though, that high a day at 221.33. So let's see if we can work our way into 221. I think that's the better level. Sure, the high is 221.33, but look where all the closing prints are. Just south of that 221 area. So we'll keep tabs on that. We're out of the money a little bit now, but 5 pennies out of the money on the last remaining bit we have here on Apple. I'm going to pack my patience. In fact, I like this trade. If we break down a little bit more, I'm going to add to this, okay? Because Apple's weak. It's 1 1/3% in the negative. It is the weakest Mag 7 name, followed by the Zon. And so, I'm not really doing anything too novel here. Trying to short the weakest name. Just got to get the right levels, pack our patience, see what we get here.
Yeah, I'm okay. I know I just said, oh, be going long these whatever those names, the SSR names is kind of maybe, you know, look, I've had issues with that, but if it sets up Sharif, I still believe you have to take it. You have to have the confidence. With that in mind, I am about to start a very small long position here in Zscaler. Why? Because I am aware that why could be a thing. Adara, why are you going long Zscaler at previous support? That is super valid. I want to talk about what my strategy here is. I like this long because the book is holding it beautifully. We pushed above that 90 EMA. Look at the previous resistance on the wick basis. Do you see it anymore? No, you didn't, because then it pushes above. Look at this climb on the ask. We were lit from 62s, 63s, 66s. We're holding 54s. To be clear, could we Kodug? I mean, we could, but to me, this is a pretty bullish look here on the book. Some confluence there with the ask. We just climbed another 4 cents. The balance of the evidence telling me they don't want to go long here. But my other entry point, the risk to reward here is actually better, is if I get long, if we break above the 75s. I would start the position 75s, risk into this area, trying to get involved in here at 50s, because initially the only area I would really have to risk into would be like 40 cents of risk, which Zscaler, that's realistic, but it's not ideal. You know what I mean? You want ideal R&R. You don't want realistic. You don't want I can live with it. You want I am obsessed with it, and it makes so much sense. So that's the look for me here. That being said, DLTR is also coming into some levels for me. If we try to push above the 65, Zscaler, though, for me, feels a little bit more pressing, and by that I mean it literally is pressing. So we're going to be getting involved. Okay, we're not getting filled. Got to get a little bit more willing to you know, not get my price. The frugality got me here a little bit, you know, not too miffed. Where's the next trade, as Obi says? And let's see here, like we're not able to break above this area here, this 159.20. So that's actually interesting. Bit of a topping tail candle, having the bid come and rest there at the area. So it looks like it worked out. It didn't get involved in this, Sharif, because we did get a little bit bamboozled in Zscaler.
Sounds like Mademoiselle.
Right? Bamboozled, Mademoiselle. Speaking of Mademoiselle, Lily had a catalyst, actually, right before. Some people here, I sometimes call this one Mademoiselle Lily for reasons I don't even understand. It's fun. But Lily, not a lot of volume on this. Still, wow, if this had more volume, I would trade this range every day, all day, every day. Look at this range.
All day, baby.
Look at that 946. Look at that top here, 953. Come on, Lily, this is the same area I was trading you when you had those all those catalysts there. But anyways, there was a bit of a glip catalyst there. There was somebody, it was the UK Medical Regulatory Agency basically saying, hey, we don't think there's any, you know, we're not seeing any correlation between GLP-1s and suicidal ideation. So I guess
that's crazy.
Yeah, good look, I guess, here for Lily in this range. Still down in the day, but I just wanted to look at that because we said Mademoiselle. But okay, GitLab. A lot of these earnings names coming into areas of reversion for me. Now we have Zscaler trying to rest on that 158.50s once again. I felt better about that long before I saw that rejection there of this area. Honestly, I felt fine about the long going long negative 18. I'm going to be really honest with you guys. That was not a qualm I had. But now my qualm is, we get above the 9 EMA, right? But look, we're still rejecting that 159.20 area. I'm going to go get some, probably some water here, breathe, and see what Zscaler does when I come back, because I think there's a trade here, but I need to figure out what it is. And I'm not going to force it unless I see it set up. Also, I meant to say this earlier. I had the right level in the SPY. I lost like 20 pennies on this short. I kind of like, look, this was clearly the right idea. I played it wrong. I got wicked out, and now this long would have been 40 pennies in the money. You live, you learn, you lose some, you win some, and you find out how that Apple short's going, because I see some orders and some orders.
Decent. I got stopped out for the remaining little bit, got right back in because I like the level, and I took 20 pennies on it. So I'm happy with it. We're still in the money on this, but I want more. I want it to break down below 220. And there seemed to be a little bit of defense at 220. I've put my my out in for the remaining balance over here. Let's see if we can work down on Apple. I'm bearish on Apple today. That's the way I am. That's my bias. I think, you know, I'm not really seeing what I want. It's negative. And I like this 220 level, especially up into 220 and a quarter, which is what I've been basing my trades on. I saw somebody in the chat earlier saying, well, look, hey, Apple's not the weakest name, it's Google. Well, you may be right in the sense that Google's below the volume weighted average price right now, but Apple's worse on the day. 1.18 actually for Apple in negatory land, and we're up on GOOGL, 0.06%. So your point well taken. in that on the chart, it looks like Apple a little bit more bullish than Google at the moment, but Google's faring better on the day, and that's just the way it is. So we're weaseling in close to getting stopped out here again on Apple. If it breaches 20, that's the end of the trade there. We're going to give up 4 pennies on this last trade, and here we are at 20. So if it breaches, that's going to be the end of the matter over here on the dead one, Apple. We'll look to get back in. I mean, if it gives way at 220 again to the downside, that I'll get back in. I have no issues with it, but it looks like it is finding a bit of a bid here, which is fine. So we took our bit of a beak wetter there on Apple. We'll get stopped out for the remaining 4 pennies here if it does breach, which it's making me wait. So there's somebody selling up a storm here at 220 because it's not breaching 220. Well, not yet. That may come, and it's working its way, it looks like here, for that breach. I should tell you that Tesla's at the high of the day. So Tesla's been very, very strong off that 20 exponential moving average hold on the 5-minute chart. It's at 221.55. It just printed the high a day. It breached those local highs from earlier. So Tesla now up 5% plus here, almost 5 1/5 right now on TSLA. Good strength with it. And it didn't give up a lot of the move. I mean, the worst it could do here was to hold the 20. It didn't even work its way down to VWAP. The last time it breached the volume weighted average price was right at that open 930, and it has not looked back. So a lot of strength right now in TSLA, and you're moving up possibly here into local highs on the fuge. We're awfully close to 19.1. We're at 19.084 or thereabouts, so we could see a 19.1 touch. I'm going to be all eyes and ears to see if we can continue through that level, or whether we reject that 19.1. I want to see if we can get back into the highs. The highs are at 114. So we won't probably have to wait all that long to find out. I'm still waiting to get stopped at Apple here. The fact that I have it means, to me at least, that there is a seller of note at 20s. And every time we move into 20s, there's absolutely no size to justify the rejection, meaning that there's an iceberg at 20. At least that's how I see it. Let's see if this iceberg is big enough to prevent the price action from ascending above that $1/5 of a dollar, and we can get below that 220 again, because I'm not taking it out until we break below 220. So I'll either get stopped out, or I'll take the beak wetter below 220. But Apple catching a bit of a bid here, no question about it, much like Tesla and much like Nvidia, which is finding itself above 109 again. So fantastic look there. Down goes Apple into the single digits again. I'm waiting for a 220 breach. We're not taking it out unless the 220 gets breached. Seems like there's a bit of a buyer here for whatever reason at 9. Bizarre area to find support, but I'm looking for a double top. I mean, if this doesn't set up as a double top, fine. But this is a predictable setup. I have a good entry, and if I'm wrong, I'm giving up 5 pennies, which is fine with me. So we're going to see exactly what we get. We will not get upset, Adair, no question about it. So what's your look over there? How is Zscaler doing?
Zscaler looks great. You know what I mean? Like, to be clear, I stand by waiting for these, because you don't want to get involved unless you have full confluence. I think obviously you want to be confident, but there's a difference, and I've learned this the hard way, between being confident and between being cocky, between being uneducated, between being ill-prepared. You know what I mean? So I'd rather make sure everything sets up perfectly. And to be clear, I don't need, like, you know, all of the stars to align. I just need to see things I'm feeling comfortable with, and especially in the book. The way Zscaler failed that 159.20 area to me on the book initially was gross. So I stand by waiting. That being said, 21s will do something for me. I'm going to try to get long here. 159.21s. Should we get a retest? I'm not sure we will. I'm willing to risk 40 pennies on this, because I think that's a realistic level there. We get to 81s. So we're going to take a little bit more size on this. I think we could see what happens at this trade. If we get filled here at 21s, like I said, risking 40 pennies, I would love to see what we do as we, you know, I'd add if we break above this 75 level. Sharif trying to coax the stocks to come to him, as we all must do. Shout out to Sharif sticking the tongue out. That's, you know, when he's feeling whimsical. That's when you know. So, yeah, things that you learn from sitting next to somebody.
Honestly, right?
Always very happy to sit next to Sharif on this here desk.
And your thinking face.
I'm like...
She looks unimpressed, but she's really digesting what
really
she has to say.
I'm really just digesting the info. I have no issues with it being said. I'm just like, but also if there's anything you guys think, okay, why is this not being said? Why are we not talking about that stock?
I have no idea.
You know what? There's so many stocks. We can never look at all of them. Yeah. But on the audience segment brought to you by Real Trading, we can maybe. So get into that chat. Exclamation point join. Space. $. The ticker. I'm going to stop making music, but get involved. Let us know how you would like the cookie to crumble. My earnings plays names here I still have eyes on. Dollar Tree, this was this 65 long definitely didn't manifest. You know, we're going to try to go short again here. To me, 65 We should go just above 65, 65.05s. Let's see if we get filled there. That might be a bit unrealistic, but like I said, I'm still comfortable risking into 25s because that was that previous like little area. So let's see if we can get some shares here. I also am still waiting to see if I get filled on Zscaler. If we do get filled on Zscaler, I would like to take that ZS to the upside, but I'm really not sure I'm going to get filled here. We're like 30 pennies away from my area of entry on the bid. The other earnings name I'm looking at now that I've waxed about those poetic about those SSR names, I said GitLab. If you hold that support here, you're going to be spicy to me. Look what GitLab did. Held some here support. So let's see what happens here on GTLB. I want to wait to see if I have proper levels on this because 50, I like 53, but my level I always love more is 53.20s, 53.40s. So we're going to see what happens as we push above that level. I do love all these bullish candles. I love that support we had at 52, just above 52, because that was also the area of that previous chip top. Like all of this kind of, you know, indecisive action. So that could be interesting. It looks like I'm not going to get filled on either my Zscaler or my dollar tree trades. That's okay. You know, you have to recognize something. I was a bit late to the move maybe on both of these, or I wasn't, you know, ambitious enough on either of them, and that's some things to reflect on. But where's the next trade, you may ask? You know, you're always looking for it. I still have, those are the names I feel like I have the best levels on. EWIN, kind of interesting above 214. SBUX.
Get it there.
I said I'd wait to get any bucks here on SBUX because I wanted to see what decisions it was making within this range I like. Honestly, Sharif,
yes.
To me, SBUX kind of looks like a long here, and I'm willing to explain why I think that. Okay. Because look at these higher lows. Look at the support we had earlier here. I appreciate it.
I like that. That looks
that 92.50,
really good.
Right? Then we reject it. But now we're trying to hold support here. If we hold this 92.50s, I like this long. I would risk it here into this 35 area. I think 15 cents of risk is realistic for Starbucks. Then you add your break above 65, so that's already kind of one-to-one risk to reward. The issue here would be profit taking. You'd really kind of have to be seeing what the stock does. That being said, that 92.95 is not a bad level for me at all. Not only is it in confluence with VWAP, at least as of right now, but you do have that topping tail candle. We're going to order our first latte here. Bit of a move down in the futures, which I don't love in terms of its impact on Starbucks. But Starbucks trying to hold back up here. We're going to get involved here 49s, and we're going to take some size because I would like to have, you know, a grande trade here in the SBUX one. I only got part filled, but I'm okay with the size. I've got filled like 40% of what I want the total position to be. See what happens here. I'm still looking at Zscaler though, because I still like the look on that one. Now, I don't want to chase this. Like I said, there's levels I like. If we come back to rest off 50s again, in like a decisive way, that could maybe be a look for me. But you never want to rush it. You want to be patient. Want to wait in your trades and see what is occurring on this here market. This looks like a textbook bearish pennant, says Joe. Is that in Starbucks? Yeah, I mean, a little bit for sure. You do, but my thing with Starbucks, and the reason I don't think it necessarily looks as bearish, is because of the higher lows and this interaction with this level. To be clear, if we like hard reject that, what is this, 96, 65s, that, you know, might be a little bit more bearish, but if we keep holding that 92.50 support, I like the support to resistance flip. And I think what's great about this market, there's so many different ways to trade these stocks, to trade this market, to interact. And so with that in mind, you got to stick with your guts because, like I said, that CrowdStrike long I had on Friday, I took that long low of day and I said, this might look crazy, but I stand by it. Now, I don't want to keep harping on Friday's trades, and I'm not trying to do that. The reason I keep mentioning Friday is because that was the day that I had my best trades P&L-wise, and it reflected, my best trades process-wise, and it reflected in the P&L. Nice. So I'm trying to figure out what worked those days. I think the biggest thing that worked was I was only in my bag. I was not thinking about anybody else's bag. I was trying to get my bag and fumble it. So, or not fumble it, flip it and tumble it. Everyone says, oh, Adair, you always say those lyrics wrong. Shout out to the Migos. Let's see if we get the bag on Starbucks. Couple cents in the money here. Let's see if we get going. How are you doing?
Good, Adair. I want to shout you out. That's great mentality there. Look, we're going to do the lesson in a hot minute, but we've got a bit of an ad read here. A little nice one before that. So we're going to delay the lesson a little bit, guys. And then Adara will do it a little bit later after that 1 o'clock. So we'll be talking about trend lines, baby. Right now I'm at an Apple, so I was able to take, I'm very happy with this trade. I'm still negative on the day, full disclosure. We took that short, baby, to around that 220.20. I think I had 18s or something like that. And then we took it in the high 80s, and I'm happy with this trade. That gives me about 30 pennies here on the dead one Apple. It's still whiffling and waffling at this 220 area. It looks to me, though, like it's setting up for a bit of a a longer to manifest double top. Like clearly here, this double top manifested in 2 1-minute candles. You moved up on this one, and then you move down as quickly as you like on this one. Now we're not in the liquid time of the day. We're in a less liquid time of day. So now it's looking like it's using 220 as resistance, okay? And there it goes down into that $0.75. Lots of weakness down. The fuge, as well as I see from my side chart, right back down as well. It couldn't take 19.1. So down go the futures again. Nvidia heading down. We've got weakness on the softy. Meta, Amazon, everything curling back a little bit down here, but we're not at lows. Let's not get carried away. In fact, the Amazon just bounced off VWAP again. So this trade that we had earlier is still in play, this VWAP 175 range, at least for the moment. If it gives up the ghost at the level, then it gives up the ghost. But it's wicked down below before. It's doing it right now. We'll see if the future continues to head back down. It's broken below the 50-point level again. But when you look at the Mag 7 names, like some of them are still at good key levels. Nvidia at the 10 exponential on the 5. Likewise with the future. VWAP still an elusive target for Google. But you got like Softy bouncing off the 10 exponential as well. Same thing with Meta. We made the point that Amazon may or may not break below VWAP. And then you have Apple still also bouncing off the 10 exponential. So even though we got a bit of a sell there right now on the future and the Mag 7 in general, you're still at good levels. We'll see. Let's look at some of the small cap gappers. I feel like we haven't been giving them as much love after starting off looking at a lot of them. ASST. This has been very interesting here on ASST, and the reason why is we're putting in higher lows. Could this be, an ascending wedge with a flat top break through that $3 area where VWAP is? So you have incrementally higher lows, essentially from the pre-market onwards. You're not at highs by any means, obviously, and you've got to get above that 3. But this is interesting here. You're not going to catch me taking this long below VWAP. It's got to get above that, and then maybe we'll talk. But it's looking good. ASTS, though, and I know they look the same, but ASTS, that's the trade that we had there. And this one has been very consolidative after making that high at 36 and a fifth, 36.20, a little bit above 35, a little bit below. You could kind of make the argument, though, that there is a bit of a buyer at 35. There is nary a closing print south of that 35 level. Sure, you get a wick or 2 or 3 or maybe 4 below that $35 level, Adara, but you are putting in lower highs with a flat top. That usually means either a bull flag or you're going to get a flat bottom break. So there's definitely some support locally at $35 on ASTS, but these lower highs are also instructive as well. Look for a possible bull flag manifestation here. If not, then you're looking for something maybe to come back in to 33 and change. It kind of coincides with this flat top that this area crest that we have from the pre at around 32 and 3/4. So good area of support there on ASTS here if it really comes down. That 33 where VWAP is, as well as the pre-market high at around that level, super interesting as well. Are you ready for the ad read?
Oh yeah, I'm ready to go.
Which one are you, Adara?
I can be number 1, or I can be number 2. I'll be number 2 for fun.
Okay.
Number 2.
Well, cool. All right, so let's get right to it, baby. Are we ready, Ram? You don't sound so enthusiastic, Ramin. I can't handle all that. Okay. Now you want to pay attention to this because this is a game changer for stock traders.
You can get funds to trade stocks, and you don't even have to be a professional trader. Anyone can join.
Really? Trade the Pool is a prop firm that funds stock traders worldwide. No more risking your own money and no more PDT, pattern day trader rule. You can even get funded with up to $260,000 buying power.
Yeah, and you trade real shares. You can short any penny stocks, and you don't trade alone. You can trade with other traders in the Trade the Pool community on Discord. Ooh. And you'll find all the information. Search for tradethepool.com, and you'll find all the information you need. I wish there was something like this when I started trading. It's amazing.
I'm going to definitely check this out. Trade the Pool, baby. That's the website there. Check them out. Thank you very much to our sponsor, Trade the Pool. Yeah, it's the first duetto read we've ever done here on this show, Adara, but there's there's a first time for everything. All right, so that's the look. That was waxing poetic there about our ASTS. There's also Redfin. Now, look, I'm a little bitter about Redfin because I'm red on it on the day, but that doesn't mean that we can't go green on it. Now, this one, a little unpredictable for me. I wouldn't have had a read that it would hold up at 10 1/3. Where is this 10 1/3 coming from? Oh, there's a double top here from yesterday. Like, I didn't have a read on this. I mean, I would have been looking at VWAP, the 10 or the 20. So I don't feel too bad about not having traded Redfin properly. It's not something that I could have executed. I would have never been looking at 10 1/3, 10:30, something like that. I realized that this was a bit of a holdup yesterday, but that's not how I trade. So Redfin still in focus. Definitely not giving up the ghost. WISA as well, very strong, 66% plus. This one at VWAP, but below it, so below that 2 1/3 area. So there's some good small cap gappers. It's not the best day for them though. We'll keep an eye on these Adair.
Yeah, I mean, right now we are in Lemonade on Starbucks. So that's what's happening here. Here's the Starbucks trade. I'm really proud that I took this because I know it did look a little bit bearish, but I said, hey, we have higher lows. You love that level. You said, wait to see what sets up at that level. You know what set up at that level? This long. So I took it long. In terms of the stop right now, we're going to give it here I'm going to do like 1 minute prior bar highs. That's probably, I think, makes sense for a look here. So we're going to see what we do here. 65s right now would be the level for this stock. Like I said, I'm still trying to work out my stops when these trades where they kind of work out well and you don't have like necessarily as defined of a level. You're just kind of letting it chip, chop, and churn. That being said, I do know for a fact, and I mentioned this earlier, I will be getting out a quarter. I don't think I mentioned how much, but I will be getting out a quarter here as we get into VWAP. I liked all this chop and churn in the area. I do want to de-risk a little bit there. Now I want to talk here about Zscaler. So Zscaler, I had the first log here at 159.50s. I knew that this was not the first area I wanted, but I was like, you know what? I like the level. We'll see how it shakes up. I risked it into 159.20s. That was the level I wanted more. I was like, why weren't you waiting for that level in the first place, Adara? So I built a position. I think this is the same size. Both these positions are really small. I'm adding if we get decisively above 159.50s. I'm adding if we get above 159.80s. And then we'll be trying to take some profit as we push above VWAP and into these other levels. This is what confidence is, what confidence is. I'm risking 40 pennies, and I want to make a heck of a lot more. Like, I'm adding up to 60 pennies in the money, right? So it's about basically trying to make sure that the trades you're making make sense to you, even if they don't make sense to other people, because who's going to be trading them? You. Bang. As long as you understand your levels. Like, honestly, me being in 2 longs right now, when the market is a little bit topsy-turvy, not the chillest thing, but you don't want to be comfortable as a trader. You want to be able to get your face slapped. You want to have that confidence. You want to have that confidence, and you want to make sure you're working to get better every single day. That's what we're trying to do here at How to Trade. I love this community, and I love learning. Let's get it.
All right,
oh my gosh,
we're ready. We're ready to do the thing here, Ram. All right, so this is the lesson of the day, and
oh, that's why you were telling me to.
Yes, Adara.
I didn't know that was a surprise story.
I don't know. Ram, put it back on. Ram, put it back on. Why are you wearing your glasses in the photo shoot? I need explanations. She's such a badass.
That's the most Ramin photo I've ever seen.
Yo, bro, what is going? Yes, Ram. Come on, Ram, put it on. Nah, come on, Ram. All right, fine. We'll stop teasing. I love that. Anyone can rewind if they want, by the way. All right, just throwing it out there, Dara. Just throwing it out there. It's no big deal. All right, guys, we are talking about trend lines we're talking about trend lines today. We're going to be talking about trends all week long. The objective of this lesson is to understand the intricacies of trend lines, including how to draw them, determining their significance, how to handle breaches of a trend line, and apply them to trading decisions. So let's get right to it. So as we typically do, let's just introduce the topic de novo. Right now, there's basically 2 types of trend lines we want to talk about. In general, there's only 2 types anyway. There's an uptrend line and a downtrend line. The uptrend line, we're connecting the rising lows. So we don't connect the highs on an uptrend line, we connect the lows. Conversely, when we draw a downtrend line, we're connecting the highs. So you connect the falling highs. Shout out to Katina, man. I'll look at it in a second. I just have to do this. No, actually, I want to know. So we're going to have to look over here because the Katina man sent something, so I need to see. There it is. It's a screen cap. Exactly, Katina man, as we instructed. So she's not happy. You shouldn't have put it in the group chat, Ram. It's your fault. You threw in the group chat. You got to deal with what comes from that. Okay.
Oh, I get it.
I know you did. I could see because it has my the lesson in the background. I see you, brother. I see you. I got you. All right, Ram. So two types of trend lines. One's an uptrend line, one's a downtrend line. The purpose of drawing these trend lines and the purpose of using them in general is to confirm market trends, and it offers you areas of support and resistance that you can gauge. So we'll talk about a little bit more about how to draw them now, okay? So there's a couple of basic principles. It might seem super rudimentary here, but let's talk about some of these basic principles. Minimum of 2 points are needed on the trend line, but you want that third for the validation. So minimum, you're connecting 2 lows, you're connecting 2 highs, but you definitely want that third to get that confirmation. The uptrend line, as we already talked about, you connect the ascending lows. With the downtrend line, you're connecting descending highs, and obviously third point of confirmation, or third point touch for confirmation. So a third connection there for the trend. How do you determine the significance of trend lines? So I'm sure anybody can find a chart, and they can connect 2 lows together or connect 2 descending highs together. But how do you figure out, or how do you determine, I should say, the significance of the trend? So I'll mention a couple of key factors here. One, the length of the trend line. The longer the trend line, both in terms of time and distance, the more significant, okay? So the longer that trend line has been in place, the more important or the more significant it becomes. In addition, the number of touches by the price action on that trend line, the more times a trend line is tested and held, the more significant the trend line becomes. Also, the angle of the trend line here is also instructive. I mentioned this first time around, I'll mention it again. OB often draws these trend lines to gauge the steepness of the trend. The more steep the trend, the less sustainable it becomes. The more, the more, the moderate the angle, the more sustainable the trend is. So keep that in mind. Length of trend line, number of tests or touches, and the angle of the trend line. And the market often respects significant trend lines. So if you can check all those boxes and you've got yourself a significant trend line, chances are the market's going to uphold those levels more than they would uphold, a less significant trend line. Really interesting. I'm not surprised by that. I got to tell you the truth. Did you see the interaction with him and that? Yeah, I got to send you a video after. All right, let's talk about. There's a general rule which basically says you should try to include as much of the price action as you can within that trend line. So here's what I mean by that, drawing the trend line. Trend lines should be drawn to include all price action, meaning the price action must touch or pass through as many price points as possible. That's not always going to be possible, but when it is, you really should try to do that. You really should try to focus on that. And intraday breaches. Even if a price breaches the trend line intraday, but it ends up closing above the trend line. So intraday breach, but closes above or below for the downtrend lines, same thing, the trend line remains valid, okay? And the importance of inclusions cannot be overstated here. Ignoring certain price points can lead to misinterpretation of the trend, potentially leading to false signals. The example I gave first time around, and I want to give it again, is Lee Auto. Lee Auto has an obvious downtrend line here. You can also draw a downward channel. But look at this. It's super easy to connect these points, and it respects it here, over here, and over here. There's one outlying area, as you can see, in early March, late Feb, where it went all the way up into that 46, 47 area. Now, if I saw what I wanted to see and I removed this area from my trend line, then I would be completely oblivious to the possible double top that I could have at 46 or 47 if Lee Auto is able to make it back up there. Okay, so I don't just want to see what I want to see or what fits best with my analysis. I got to be real about what the actual price is. And this is one of those ones where every single point seems to respect this trend line, save and except for this earnings outlier over here. Okay, but general rule is I need to include it. So how do you handle breaches of the trend line when they do get breached? So we'll talk about a couple of different things. We'll talk about minor violations first. So small penetrations or small breaches of the trend line do not necessarily signal a trend reversal. They could be false signals or part of the normal market noise. You should be looking for confirmation here though. wait for confirmation through a close beyond the trend line or additional indicators before assuming the trend line break is valid. Those additional indicators I'm going to give to you right now. There's two general rules that you can use here with trend lines. One is called the 3% rule, and the other is called the 3-day rule. The 3% rule is super simple. What you're looking for there is a close above or below, 3% above or below the trend line. So if we get that breach below the trend line and that amounts to 3% on the close, the trend is reversed and you've checked off that box. Same thing goes for the long. The other rule is the 3-day rule. What you're waiting for there is 3 successive days where the instrument that you're trading closes below or above the trend line. If you get those 3 successive days, the trend line's been breached. I don't want to say like on a permanent basis because it could get taken again. That's a valid breach. So you can employ any one of these rules. And market behavior here is also very instructive. Beware of market tendencies to test these trend lines with minor violations before resuming the original trend. And that's why I really am trying to push through the closing print, the 3% rule, the 3-day rule, whatever rule you want to employ, just make sure it's a standard and you're using it consistently. And there it is. We have just a quick breach below that trend line, then it moved right back up. Now, you could choose to do what John J. Murphy does and draw these, other sort of dotted trend lines here to kind of gauge where that low is, but that's not typically what I do. You can have at it however you want. All right. Now, we talked about these trend lines getting breached, but what constitutes an actual valid breach of the trend line? That's what we're going to talk about here. So breaking the trend line, a valid break, typically confirmed when prices close beyond the trend line rather than just penetrating during the intraday trading and then retracing right above there. And you really need to be considering volume here. A break on high volume, a break of the trend line, north or south on high volume is more important than, something on lower volume. Big Spile always talks about, these counter market moves being on low volume, and that's how he looks to get short. So if we were negative on the day on the SPY, then we got a little pop-up, but the pop-up in his estimation was done on low volume. I don't mean to put words in his mouth, but he always talks to me about this. Then he's looking to get short there. So this is kind of the thing you should be looking at. Gauging volume is already subjective in and of itself. My suggestion to you is to look at the recent volume bars around that breach. So was that volume candle that breached the trend line to the north or south side, was it above average than its counterparts? So you just need to look at before. You can look 3 months, 6 months, whatever you want to do, figure out what works best for you. So keep that in mind. Now, how do these trend lines reverse rolls? We often talk about a support and resistance. Flipping rolls, so that 200 on Apple was obvious resistance for years and years and years, and then now it's acting as support, at least for now. The same thing is true with these trend lines. So support becomes resistance and vice versa. So after a trend line is broken, it often reverses rolls. In an uptrend line that was once support may become resistance, and a downward trend line that was resistance may become support. Trading implications here are quite obvious. Understanding this roll reversal can help you in setting target levels for exits as well as entries after a trend line break. So one of the things that John J. Murphy says in his books is if you're able to extend your trend lines as far as your software will allow. You don't know when that trend line will act as support and resistance again because they flip rolls. So you can kind of be like, oh, well, we're so far away from the high part of this trend line, I don't even need to extend it. You don't know. Just extend it. I got an option on my software that naturally extends the trend line as far as it'll go. If you have that, I would suggest you use it as well. And here's kind of what it looks like there. We're moving up, and then you get a decided break. And look what it does after that. It comes back and tests the trend line as resistance this time, not support. Look how many times it bounced off it as support, but once it gave up the ghost and dropped big, it came back in, tested that trend line, and rejected. So extend your trend lines as far out as your software will allow you. And then last but not least here, measuring implications of these trend lines, kind of like what we talked about with bull flags, measuring the continuation play of the bull flag, the continuation play of the head and shoulders, how we can project from the head to the neckline break of the head and shoulders, how we can project that downward or upward to gauge where to take profits. same type of thing here for these trend lines. So the price projection, how do you do this? The distance between the start of the trend line and the first point it connects to, which is point 1, can be projected from the point of the trend line break to estimate the potential price movement, which is good for target setting because this measurement will allow you to set up profit targets as well as stop losses based on the expected price move following that trend line break. So measuring implications for these trend lines as well as Adara, not as Adara, using it as support and resistance.
That's a really interesting way. I appreciate that too about extensions because there are sometimes levels too. Like, shout out to Brian Shannon. When I was on the market recap, RIP, my time in the market recap, I really did enjoy myself. Shout out. I know Brian Shannon mentioned 40-year anchored VWAP on Intel. Someone was saying yesterday they talked about a 30-year anchored VWAP, and I think Dick's Sporting Goods or Dollar Tree. Dollar Tree. Thank you, I appreciate that. So shout out to Brian Shannon, as Darwin in the chat sometimes calls him Mr. Bespoke VWAP. So the point I'm trying to make is like these trends can be older. There can still be levels of interest, right? Going way back. So I want to shout that out because I think that's key. Z-scaler. Guys, you might have seen on my blotter, it was up, down, all around. I was in a lot of different stocks in this time period. Actually, it was in 3, but I want to talk about them. Basically here, the Z-scaler short. So I tried the long here. I stand by the second long more than I stand by the first long, but because I really just should have gotten in earlier than I did. That was really the issue there with those longs. I think the idea was not, horrible or anything. We had that whole lot of support, but I should have been getting long way earlier than I did. It's all good. Why am I short now, though? This is a level I liked as a long that I didn't end up taking as a long earlier. Then I watch here at the book. I use this as my stop for my second long. And I said, okay, if we start seeing rejection here, get short. We already saw a rejection. We kind of had that rejection, then we came back down. I basically got involved here, 158, just shy of 80s. I will add, get decisively below this little trophy area here of like, let's do 50s here first with all these wicks. Then I want to see what we do with 30s. I think if we break below the 30s area, I think we can have a bit of a quadunk. This is a larger position than I had in either of the longs. I feel good about this trade, feel good about the stock, and hopefully we'll feel good about what's happening next in this market. I want to talk about S-Bucks as well. Got in this first long here, got out half the position. Initially, like I said, I was waiting for like just shy of 90s. Didn't get that on either of these exits. I got half out here, 83s. Got the rest out here basically when we broke below that prior bar low here at 80, or I think it was like 78s. Please just punch with that trade. Happy it was executed. Dollar Tree also had another long on this. Did not work, but this guy, I think, still having higher highs, higher lows. Bit of a rounded top, though. Every time Dollar Tree's gotten a rounded top, we do get some more, shade under that Dollar Tree to the downside. Shout out to Kendrick Lamar money trees. But let's see, if we can J-Rock any more trades on Dollar Tree, I'll be cool with that. If not, I'll wait. But basically my impetus with this was higher highs, higher lows. I thought we'd get that 65 breakout. Risked into 64.75, which is the level I liked. We broke below, I got out. So all of the trades having levels I like, having plans that make sense. We do also, make sure you guys only have about 45 minutes left to vote for your ticker of choice. So get into that chat, exclamation point, join, space, $, ticker. What happens if you don't vote? Well, that means you don't get to be part of this awesome audience segment, which is brought to you by Real Trading. Also, I do love Ramin's swag in the grad photo with the shades. That is dope. Shout out to Ramin. Shout out to this whole community. Everyone you see, everyone you don't see, as I like to always say. Microsoft, the chill vibes. I guess saying Microsoft's not being too chill. This one heading to the downside. Let's see what's going on over here. Also, guys, too, the thing is, if you're watching and you're like, hey, how do I vote? You have to be a member, part of our members only chat or subs only chat. Sorry. Make sure. Oh my gosh, chill vibes. You're right. I'm not chill anymore. I'm losing my chill over this Microsoft. Look at that base streak.
Yeah, it's great.
It's not like a flat bottom. I don't want to say flat bottom. I just want to say like huge support area that might break. I don't want to say flat bottom because we've had lower highs and then higher hies. And then, you know what I mean? Like it's been kind of bamboozling. But what hasn't been bamboozling is that base. Okay, we're not going to get that. Yeah, that 408, 80 Kudunking. We're a couple pennies in the money here. Z-scaler. I'm going to add, if we get below here, 158.50, maybe the lesson of the day for me. Anyway, shout out to Neil, who has his awesome lesson of the day. You can check out around noon. Maybe my lesson of the day is don't go long SSR names. To be clear, I stand by the impetus of the trade. I did take less size on these Z-scaler ones. Took a bit more size with Dollar Tree, but I felt there was a lot of conviction for that one. So I was okay with that. But Z-scaler, sometimes just the short works out. To be clear, though, I wouldn't have had these levels had I not been looking for the long. So you got it. Everything's going to give you a little bit of everything. let's pretend that made sense and was not a weird platitude. Let's see what's going on in this market. I like your long here, though, on the Apple one.
I don't want to give any more back. I'm already negative to start the day, so I hope I don't make any more mistakes. So we'll see exactly what we get there, and we're not going to get upset regardless. So that's the move. Now, I want to mention a couple of things over here. Guys, I know Adair does the best job of this, but I have to remind you that the afternoon segment with Neil and Sean doesn't make sense without you voting. So get into the chat right now. Have your vote every day. David, he wants to talk about Coupang. You know what Coupang did to Adair today? It got an upgrade.
I was going to say,
yeah. CPNG. My man David, get into the chat. Exclamation point. Exclamation point. Join, space, $, and then the ticker of your choice. Bears versus Bulls, telling everybody to vote, vote, vote. Jorge, he wants to talk about Apple, Tesla, and NVIDIA. Vote for one of them, man. Vote for one of them, Jorge. Chill Vibes, NVIDIA is pamping. Yeah, got into 109 a quarter. Get into the chat, Chill Vibes. Vote for your girl NVIDIA there. Tesla flying, says Stacks. It's been the strongest Mag 7 name on the day. Get into the chat, Stacks. Vote for NVIDIA or TSLA. Neil and Sean, they'll tell you how they traded it. If they didn't trade it, they'll tell you why or how they would have. And if you want to know how the big kahunas would have traded that, I know I do. Get into the chat right now. Have your say every day. The afternoon segment literally is nothing without you guys. So we really need you to participate in this. Shout out to you guys. The best chat around. So I just wet my beak there quickly. As you like on Apple, I'm almost 20 pennies in the money over here as it does defend that area. But this is the exact area that we're talking about, which has been selling all day. All day, yeah, sure, we're putting in these higher lows. Okay, now we're weaseling up into the $0.25. Great, we're 20 pennies in the money. But this has been the area that we initially found resistance at around that 11 o'clock time slot. We found it again over here at 12:30, and we're finding it again now at 110. So unsurprised that Apple has resistance at 220 and a quarter. I'll just hold this piece here to maybe if we do flat top break through that 220 and a quarter, I'll be part of it. Otherwise, you know, we'll look to get out if it breaks below my entry, which is 220.05. Thank you guys for voting. I see you guys there are all voting in the chat. Abhi Jazz, BA, he wants to know about Boeing. Abhi, get into the chat and vote for Boeing. The Neil, the Sean, they're ready to cover it for you every day. Go Apple. All right, now we're 30 pennies in the money as Apple breaks through the local top, but it's not over yet. We're obviously having resistance at the third of a dollar. To be quite frank with you, I don't see resistance on Apple if we hold, big if we hold above this level right here. Let's see where this one takes us. This one took us to 220 and a quarter. We just got to 220 and a third. If we break and hold above 220 and a third, we're not looking at resistance until 220 and 2/3. We have 3 candles worth of resistance there from the IB, from the balance. Open there from 940, what time was 940 to about 950. We'll see if we can get up there. There is a bit of a consolidation area bottom there from the pre, so more possible resistance, not just that little 950 time slot. There was actually resistance there in the pre-market. So we'll pack in our patience here on the dead one Apple, and we'll see if we can eke out a little bit more profits. Shout out to everybody. 2 New York cents. Yeah, didn't put the exclamation point with the word join. The word join and exclamation point got to be together. I know it's a bit convoluted, my man, but sorry about that. Your vote didn't register. You didn't get the confirmation from Streamlabs unless you entered it again. So shout out to you. Absolutely. I can do that right now, Ram. Just give me an absolute, or give me a second over here to load this bad boy. We're doing the campus program, is that right? There it is. All right. So, you got the picture? All right. Here we go. Hey there, Canadian traders. Are you ready to get back to basics and become a real trader? Let me just minimize this for a second. A real trader? Real Trading's campus program is on now. Our specialized learning experience is here to guide you through the essentials of trading. You'll learn about market microstructure, explore various marketplaces, and understand the different order types. This upcoming cohort will focus on U.S. equities, starting with a carefully selected stock list designed for optimal learning. No high flyers here. As you demonstrate your skills, you'll unlock expanded symbol availability. So join us to bridge the gap between professional execution and retail trading. Let's build your trading foundation together. That sounds awfully uplifting. Go, Apple, go, baby. Here we go. We're going into highs here on Apple. This is local highs, definitely. I'm going to wait for around that $0.50 to 2/3 before wetting my beak here, but we are, feels like possibly breaking out. And as I say that, we dip down again below 30. So maybe I should just be quiet about it. Adair, what's your look?
My look is, I'm very happy with my book read here on Zscaler because I got it right before the pop on this short. To be clear, it looks like we're still holding support, excuse me, on 158.80s. So I tried to take the short. The short did not work. We had these bottoming tail candles. Wow, I said I'd risk into 159. We get above 159. I get out. It's all good. This thing's too whiffly and too waffly. There are levels, but they're not interacting in the way that I thought they would. If my read on this is not correct, I'm happy I tried it. I didn't take massive size in any of these trades, but it's time to see what other stocks are in these pastures. SMCI, I was like, oh, I like the 421 long. Yeah, that actually would have been fine. You would have been printing all day. So happy with that level. I get why I didn't take it. There wasn't really in my opinion, a supernatural area to risk into. I guess 420, so that could have got, but I guess I said puff past to that. I don't know. But that is a really interesting level here for me in SMCI. Then we get this big topping tail candle on SPCE, and look where we top into, Sharif.
Where?
This previous resistance area of 429. I smell a short, in my opinion. So let's see what happens here. I'm not going to trade this while I do the lesson because I will not.
We just did the lesson. We're good, Adair.
Oh, okay, true. Yeah. I appreciate that. Yeah, if it's, like I said, it hasn't super set up for me yet either is the thing. If I did take this short, and to be clear, I don't want to view this as a revenge trade. Basically, I look over my side chart. I see that uptrend, and I'm like, wow. And then right after I see the uptrend, I see the topping tail candle, and I'm like, Adara, our sheep blows. This thing might go to the downside. So I don't know. I'm a pirate now. But I think this could be a bit of an interesting level here for the SPCE one. I want to see what we do here at 427. Get 427. I'll risk here into like this. This is the thing too. You always, with the SPCE, you always have to risk a bit more. So I want to take a moment to think about the risk reward principle before I get involved. I know I've been a little bit like waiting sometimes with these trades, but I'd rather wait and feel perfect about it than, you know, get a little bit overzealous and have a trade that is not executed in the way I want it to be. Dollar Tree. Are you really gonna be along here? I'm not trying you again. I don't feel as good about this trade as I did about either of these other longs, and I did feel good about both of them to clarify. But Dollar Tree still has higher lows. Is it SSR? Yup. Is it near low of day? Also yup. But the balance of the evidence here is telling me higher lows as the NQ actually kind of stagnates. So to me, there's a bit of a, there's a word for it. Not confluence, there's divergence there that I think is key. Let's watch. I want to keep taking these trades here, so that's going to be the look here. And to be clear, like Dollar Tree, like I said, I can look at the balance of the evidence. I can still see a trade that makes sense for me at levels that make sense to me. You know what I mean? Like I said, I'm not going to be scared about going long a stock, low of day. If the stock's down 20%, if there's levels I like, if there are things that make sense. I know we're kind of in a downtrend of a downtrend of a downtrend on Dollar Tree, so that's why I'm not going to get back involved now. We'll see what happens here at 65. I want to be learning, you know, every single day, and I'd rather learn from taking trades and failing than not learn by sitting in the sidelines. But with that in mind, I still don't want to be taking trades just to take them. I want to learn from trades that I felt good about for whatever reason, then learn why they didn't work. So,
love it.
Rant over. How are you doing over here in Apple?
Well, not very good at the moment, but I obviously got my original position out. I added at the highs, and that's why my price is obviously a lot higher there. I'm looking to defend that 220 because we are putting in higher lows and higher highs. So it's just about trying to ride the trend and getting in at the right area. The right area to me has been around that 10 exponential. At least that's what I'm seeing ex post facto. But I'd like to defend the whole dollar level or the $10 level if that area holds. Now, the future is putting in lower highs. So I need to be alert to the fact that the future is changing its tune here a little bit. You've got the likes of Tesla going down a little bit, curling down. Nvidia's still strong, to be fair. But you've got Microsoft pointing down, Google's pointing down, Meta's kind of pointing down. Amazon certainly is pointing down at these levels. So if the winds of change are going to come on the market, I don't necessarily feel, you know, like I need to be going against it with Apple, like it's the only one that's going to be running to the high side. So if we get a decided breach here of that 220 area and the 10 exponential, that's going to be the end of my trade. but I'd like to see if we can hold up a bit here. I almost got my beak wet right in front of 40s there. It did come into my area, but it didn't cross. And the spread on Apple's been a bit wider lately. As you know, usually it's like a 1 or 2 penny spread, but I've seen it as wide as 3 and 4 pennies today. So that's just something you're going to have to live with if you're going to trade this name. It's not stagnant. It is a dynamic name, and you know it's not trading the same way it does one day as it does the other. So we'll have to adjust to this one and you know, try to roll with the punches, so to speak. So I'm in the long. I know it's not the best day to be long, certainly on Apple, which is the weakest of the Mag 7 names, but I like the trend that I see here, and I'll take it down. So here we go, back up into the 30s. If we can continue to move up here, test those local highs like we've been doing, literally this entire area has been a test of the local highs and making of new local highs. So if that trend continues, well, then I'll print on it. Otherwise, I won't. So back into 35s, we go here again. I'm looking to wet my beak just like right in front of that 40 area. So yeah, Apple, come on, bro. We'll see what we get, and we will not get upset. Now, Tesla is at the 20 exponential moving average, or sorry, the 10 exponential moving average, which is interesting to me here because Tesla's been awfully strong on the day. And if we want to take something long, well, Tesla looks like it might be one of those ones. So let's bring in the side chart over here on TSLA. I'm trying to monitor Apple as I do this as well. So forgive me for kind of just having a bit of a rubber neck right now. Looking left, looking right. But this is the look on TSLA. First time it comes into the 10 exponential, so it's retaking it at 1220. So it's been an hour of no touches off the 10 exponential on the 5 for TSLA, up 5.15%. We know that Tesla will have these outlying days, you know, when it does catch a bid. It's a high beta name. That's just the way it is. It used to be way more high beta than this, by the way. You think NVIDIA's high beta. You should, if you haven't been trading for that long, you should have seen Tesla a few years ago. Oh, baby. So it's definitely one of those ones that can move up a storm on any day. Let's go. There's obviously a seller here on Apple at 35 and 36. I won't be convinced otherwise. Every time we move up there, yes. Every time we move up there. Now we're 20 pennies in the money on Apple. Go, dead one. So I'm going to go up here. I'm going to look to wet my beak in front of that 50 penny area if we continue to move up. Otherwise, I'm going to continue to add on this one, just like I've been doing. It dips in, I wet my beak, and I add. That is until the trend gives up. So I'm waiting at 48s over here. We just printed 47s. I can see that. There's the 48, and there's the print, Adara. Again, we get a nice little addition on AAPL. Started very red on this name. Working back, though, baby. Now, I'm going to be looking to add at 220 and a quarter. So that's the look right now. This is the look over here, that 220 and a fifth. I'm going to front run that for the little move back down on Apple. If we come back down into that $0.25, into that $5, I want all the smoke and its mother's son. So we'll see exactly what we get there, Adara. AAPL now only down 1%, trying to curl back up here.
So I have a question. You said you want all the smoke and its mother's son.
I don't want it.
You want all the smoke and
it wants
itself?
All the smoke and its mother's son, not me. It wants to take the level.
It wants its sibling. Because all the smoke and its mother's son.
I guess
it wants his brother. I don't know. That's kind of weird in Oedipal. But
I really don't care as long as I print.
That's fair. I want you to print. So shout out there to Sharif. So Mickey, I tried this short. I'm happy with the management of this short, but I do have some qualms with my entry in the first place. One qualm is, Adara, why are you tired trading SMCI? But like I said, again, management's fine. That could be the one way I could grade myself in this trade appropriately. Like, it's like, okay, you know, people say when in doubt, zoom out. I think that's a good thing. Sometimes when in doubt, zoom in, because look at this support resistance flip-flop. Why are you going short here? Adara, asking for a friend. So anyways, got short. We got into that 427 on the book there. I got out. Actually got, just with the spread and the key I used, actually, like, I lost 70 cents on this. So for SMCI, not bad at all. I took a very, very, very small position size there. But again, it's not about the P&L. It's about the other thing.
Learning.
The progress. Thank you, Sharif. I appreciate that. And so the progress is like, Adara, zoom in, be like, hey, why are you getting long here or short here? So that's kind of my issue. I also don't think it was helped by the fact that when I first was looking at this, it was looking weak on the book because the Qs were pushing lower. As I was getting involved, the Qs pushed higher. I was like, you know, good times when that happens. Also, Z-scaler continues to chop. I have no levels on that as of right now. What else is going down? You're just keeping an eye on these markets, seeing if there's anything I like shaking up right now. IWM holding on to VWAP with lower highs, but we already had a false breakout of that. Dollar Tree, though, new lows for DLTR. So on the DL, I would kind of like, not even on the DL, out in the open, I'd be interested in a 64.50 short. I know I've been long Dollar Tree all day. To be clear, pretty small position. This position was larger, but like I said, I had a little bit more, in my opinion, confluence for that, and that was working for the time being before we broke below the view up. But get to 64.50. I will be taking it short. Also, we're going to be getting ready for, what else are we looking at? SPY. I've been spying the SPY here.
Oh.
And I have some thoughts on the SPY here, so I'm going to share those thoughts. Look at, I don't know what I drew at this level, because it must not have been yesterday. By the time we were done the midday yesterday, this level had come and gone. But lower highs, level we've been bouncing off all day, at that 551.70. Sharif, this looks, if this breaks, I look out below. But to be fair, we immediately preceding that, we had a bottoming tail candle here, bouncing off of the other line I drew here, which is 35s. So this could maybe be stuck in a bit of a range. I want to have levels on it, but I don't want to like rush into it full force or anything. It's the market, so you want to be careful. Oh, market, you want to get down? Okay, I will take a really small position here. I know I said I wouldn't rush, but then we had that flush.
Wow.
And then I was like, you know what? I must rush. I'm not going to get my trade now. But if we break below that, this line I drew here, 35s, which is another level that we've seen some interactions with, then I would like that short below 35s. Let's get it popping. I think there's some intrigue and inciting things happening in this market. I want to be part of that circuit. I've not been taking as many trades today. I've been trying to focus on trades of quality. See, this is, okay, I'm going to pull up SMCI here again. I know I said I was like done talking about it, but I'm not. We're not going to get filled on SPY. Let's talk about SMCI. The biggest thing, I need to learn this better, and I've talked about this before, and I'm like, why am I not learning from it? These spready stocks are so beholden to what that thing does. The market, like the NQ, the SPY, right? So it's like, make sure, right, before you get filled, do a cursory check. I did a cursory check at the time. It was working out right as I got filled. It ended up having strength. But this is the thing with SMCI. Like, my idea could have very well been right, but my timing was not right with the market. And in that way, I was wrong. Shout out to Opie, who's talked about this before. Timing is a huge part of the planning of the trade in terms of what the indices are doing, what your compasses are doing, be it SPY, be it the NQ. Clearly, I was not in touch with my compasses there for SPCE, because if I'd had timing better, I do still think the levels on that short were valid. My approach to it was incorrect. So that's what you got to learn from every single day. SPY bouncing. I'm looking at the book. I told you guys I'm always reading the SPY book. Bouncing off 551.35s. So maybe we could get some support in this year market. We'll find out. We're going to do the lesson set up. What are you looking at, Sharif?
I'm looking at Tesla. Dara, I have a dip trade here at 220.88. It's defending 221. There's a buyer in and around 221. It keeps holding up there. And this is an area that's not novel for TSLA on the day. This is the area where it held initially. Look over here at 1245. It's holding right now. I'm leaving my dip trade where it is, knowing full well that I could miss the trade. Now, if I miss my dip trade, I'll do what Neil says to do and get in on the back end. Essentially, what that means is let it bounce off the level to prove to you that, yes, this is a here we go. Now we're filled. Now we're going to have to hold this area. So anything below, all right, we're going to wet our beak on some profits there to de-risk a bit of a small profit there. Now we'll see if we can take 220 again. Now there's a seller at 220. Initially, we were bouncing. Remember, we just talked about resistance flipping to support. Let's see, look at the amount of selling at 221 there. That was a lot. So we'll see if we can get back up there, but we're in the money at the moment, not by a whole lot. I'd like to see a retaking of 221. It's elusive at the moment, so it looks like that buyer that was buying at 221, well, they got exhausted because now we're a little bit lower. We're still above the 20 exponential on the 5. Any print below 80, I'm gone. That's the look there. So we're going to have to really work our way through 221. I like this area because it's the 20 exponential moving average on the 5-minute chart on TSLA. We're back at 221 and we're selling again. So there's big boy selling at the whole dollar level. So resistance now, or support, excuse me, becomes resistance, at least for the moment intraday. We're going to have to see if we can work our way back up above these levels. Hence why wet the beak. But again, any print below 2280, and we are close. We just printed 82s, bouncing up back into 90s. Anything below 2280, I'm gone, Adara. What's your look over there on the lesson?
Yeah, we're getting the lesson ready. By the way, guys, I do have an order ready to short Zscaler at 158.75 if it gets there. So if that gets filled, just so you guys know, that's what that trade is going to be. Same levels like before, same approach that like before. So Understanding trend lines is really huge here. So we're basically going to be talking about the intricacies of trend lines, which include how to draw them, how you can determine how significant they are, how do you handle small penetrations, and also how to apply them in trading decisions. Also, guys, get into the chat to vote because you only have 20 minutes left to do so. So exclamation point, join the space, to the $sign, to the ticker. And that's how you do it.
Bang.
Let's talk about intro to trend lines. So there's really basically two types, as Sharif said, pretty much only two types. Uptrend, which is going to be when you've got these rising lows connected on a stock, and downtrend, which will connect falling highs. So the purpose of these trend lines and drawing them, talking about them, yapping about them, however you want to talk about them there, is identifying and confirming trends within the market and to give you some potential areas of support and resistance. How do you draw? We're going to need minimum 2 points. You're going to have more than 2 points. We know these trend lines, shout out to 40-year acre VWAP and Brian Shannon on Intel.
Ooh.
But you do need at least 2 points here for tentative trend line, and that's even going to be a bit of a smaller trend line. So three or more, that would give you more validation for your trend line. So when you've got your upward line, you're going to connect the ascending lows of these points. Downtrend, you're going to connect the descending highs. And you're going to get a 3rd point confirmation, 3rd or more, to add validity to the trend line. We always talk about that balance of evidence. And so the more data you have in every case is going to give you more confirmation. So how do you determine the significance? Because we mentioned that was going to be one of the goals of today's lesson, right? So the length of the trend line is going to be huge for that. Longer trend lines in terms of time, in terms of distance, anything where you have more data, where you have a wider set of data, that's going to be more significant. And the number of touches are also going to be important here too, because the more times you've seen a trend line test and hold, it's going to be become more significant because you've seen, hey, like we've tried to break below this, we can't. That is a wall. That is a ceiling, depending on if you're long or short, or if it's ascending or descending, and that's going to be really important. Angle of the trend line. Steeper trend lines are going to be more less sustainable. More moderate angles suggest more sustainable trends. And the reason for that is because if it's steeper, you've got a very sharp incline or a sharp decline over a shorter period of time. If it's sustained, you have more data. You've seen over time we can hold this downtrend or uptrend, right? That the steepness can be a little bit more short-term. If you've got this a sustained, suspended upward trend or downward trend, there could be a little bit more juice in that trend. Market respect is huge too, because the market will often respect more significant trend lines, which makes them reliable tools for forecasting future price movements. What does that mean? So if you've seen basically these trend lines getting followed, getting held, if you see these levels like, why is this holding? You know what I mean? Why is this level important? That could be maybe a more significant trend line because you've seen that respect from the market. So market trend line, market respect is huge. You also want to basically include all price action, or at least you should, in your trend line. So trend lines here should be drawn to include all the price action. So basically you want your trend line to touch or pass through as many price points as possible. You want the trend line to have all that smoke, or otherwise it's not going to be as representative of the full throttle of the move. Intraday penetrations are huge too. So even if you've got the prices penetrating or poking, into that trend line, I don't like redacted. If you've got them pushing into the trend line intraday, but it closes above in an upward trend or below in a downward trend, that trend line will remain valid or stay valid. So that's kind of worth noting how the intraday penetrations play a role in our interpretation of trend lines. Okay. What about importance of the inclusion? So you don't want to ignore data points, right? You need to see everything here with this market. You need to see the whole balance of the evidence. And so if you're ignoring certain price points, you're not going to get the whole balance. You're going to be like, it's going to be the judge, like the court case, ignoring, being like, oh, that evidence doesn't matter. That's inadmissible. Chug, chug. So, you know what I mean? You want to make sure you have all the data points to make sure you have an accurate case. Obviously, that is a little bit of a weird analogy, but you know what I'm trying to say. So, how do you handle these small trend line breaches? How do you interpret more like these small trend line breaches? So, minor or small penetrations of a trend line don't necessarily signal a trend reversal because they could be false signals or they could be part of normal overall market noise. So, then you're going to want confirmation. You want to wait for some confirmation, and by that we mean a close beyond the trend line or additional indicators before assuming a trend line break is valid. Market behavior is here too. You want to make sure you're aware of market tendencies to test these trend lines with mild little violations. before returning to the original trend. So here's an example of a trend line breach. We talked about this a lot yesterday as well. I want to shout out Sharif.
I fat-fingered. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay.
I did okay.
I heard a gap.
I fat-fingered. That's why I added when I want to take out. That's all. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, you're good.
So small trend line breaches, you know, we do have like general uptrend, but then a little bit of spikes down. But you know what's interesting too is there's like, I guess, a second trend line, right? You've got that lower line here to make sure they bounce off of. Generally too, most of the action falls within that trend line. No trend line's gonna be perfect, right? That'd be crazy to expect like, oh, if it doesn't bounce every single time perfectly, there's something wrong with it. That's what I've noticed too. Sometimes like you take a breach and you put way too much stock into that breach or way too much stock into that candle, right? But it takes a lot of candles to make a stock. So make sure you're cognizant of these smaller breaches. Also, Zane, I will politely decline that proposal.
I was about to send it to you. I was screenshotting to send it to you.
Thank you. I will politely decline your proposal of marriage at this time. I would like to take care of my own trend lines. Thank you very much.
Yeah, she's good.
Thank you. But what happens when the trend line breaks? Well, a valid break is going to usually be confirmed when prices close beyond the trend line rather than just penetrating it during intraday trading. So it doesn't just poke into it, it breaks the dam. There's like, you know, blood on the streets. And if it's an uptrend that breaks lower, there's going to be like, I guess, a waterfall to the upside, a geyser, not geyser, not old people. If you break above the upper end of that trend line.
Everybody got it, what you meant.
Thank you. Also, a break on high volume can be huge too, right? A break on high volume is more significant, likely indicates a genuine trend reversal. I talked about how in Dollar Tree just now, when we had that break further to the downside, I said, oh, that was that big volume candle. That shows like, hey, whenever there's more volume, there's more participants. And so if you, especially a break of a trend or a break of a new trend with volume, that's like, hey, people are involved. That's what you want to watch out for.
Bang.
Trend lines also show a reversal of a rule, which is pretty big. So support becomes resistance or vice versa. We talked about this today. I've not traded necessarily effectively all day, but I'm looking at it all day and I look at it a lot in general because once a trend line is broken, it can reverse rules. This level was significant for some reason, right? So who's to say it won't be significant again? Shout out to 40-year VWAP on AVWAP on Intel, right? That's huge. So an uptrend that once was support may become resistance. A downtrend that once resistance may become support. Trend implications are also huge here too because understanding the rule reversal can help you set target levels for exits and entries after trend line break. You've seen too what I'll do sometimes if I'm in a trade one way, the levels that were my stops initially, if I switch directions, that's going to be my profit takers, right? These levels, again, I'm not saying I'm like, you know, the paragon here or the model example, but I'm saying that it's something I'm trying to do and there's a reason traders look at this, right? Because these levels can be huge. If they mattered for some reason, they might reverse and matter in a different reason. So, that's pretty huge. One's one example of a reversal of a rule. So you've got that broken up trend line. Then you see the support here. Look what's resistance now. That's right. So measuring the implication here is really important. You've got price projection, which is going to be the distance between the start of the trend line and the first point it connects to. That can be rejected from the point of the trend line break so that you can get a potential price movement. We've talked a lot too about how you measure potential breakouts here in flag pull patterns. You can also see that for these patterns, these trend lines. Also, shout out to you, Ann. Thank you. I like talking fast because these markets move fast. As Obi was saying, you know, no matter how fast Adara talks, the book's going to move like 40 times faster. So I appreciated that shout out there.
I like that.
On Friday.
That's
yeah, you got to keep up with these markets, right? Shout out there. Oh boy, target setting can be huge too, guys, though, because you want to be able to use this kind of measurement to set profit targets or set stop loss levels based on the expected price move following a trend line break. Also, if I may, I'd like to use an example in the wild here from today, and it's going to be GitLab. GitLab. I took this trade, right? Because look at this trend line. Pardon?
What is it, Ram? Just
look at this.
Teach.
Ramin did not allow me to, so it's all good there.
Get it, Ram.
Okay, thank you, Ramin. I appreciate that. Mother, Ramin, may I? Yes, you may. So look at this trend line in GitLab, right? We had held this line beautifully. Then when we break below it, and also keep in mind, this trend line break and a confluence with the break of the 90 EMA, that was my impetus to go short. Because we know that when these levels reverse, they can flip from support to resistance. So again, not trying to be like, oh, this is like the best trade. But I'm just saying these type of levels, this type of trading is something traders look at, and that's what's going on here on these markets. That is my rant of the day for this stock for the lesson. Good times. We're gonna get water. How are you doing?
Long 221, sorry, 220.71 on Apple. We just broke 221. We're moving into 221 a quarter here on the Cybertruck. Let's move up a little bit more. This is a 20 exponential dip. Thank you, Katina Man, or whoever is hitting that. Boom! We just took 50 pennies there on TSLA. Happy with this trade. 20 exponential dip into 20 exponential dip on Tesla on the 5-minute chart. It's been the strongest bad boy on the day in Mag 7 world here, up 5%. And so I'm like, look, you know, we're doing all these Doge candles around here. Is there equilibrium between buyers and sellers at this level? If there is, well, then I can profit from like basically this just general area a little bit below 221. So I'm happy with this trade. I'm mad at myself for fat fingering over here and adding when I should have been taken out, but we executed the subsequent trade a little bit better than we did the first one. So I'm happy with this trade. I'm still negative on the day, full disclosure, but we're trying to work our way out of this trade. And I'm, to be honest, like I'm only negative because of the dumbass trades that I took initially on this broadcast, because I was not trading that well. But since that time, we've done a little bit better. What's going on over there, Katina Man? The Katina Man is now short NVIDIA, okay? 109 and a quarter. 109.21, baby. The Katina Man is taking NVIDIA short at these levels as the future comes right back into that break-even point again. And so it's make or break time here, whether we hold this level or not. That make or break area is 19,008. 19,010, just a smidge above that 100-point level at 19,000. But I got to tell you, we've been putting in incrementally lower highs, excuse me. So you could consider this area here at 1105 to be the top, which it is, 19,114. Then this local area here at 1235 took us to 19,088. And subsequent to that, we have been putting in incrementally lower highs, but have been able to find a little bit of a defend area at that 19,007, 19,008, whatever the closing print is from yesterday on the NQ September contract. So, wow. You know, we definitely didn't get a bounce day, at least not yet. And that's to me, it's important. Why? Let's look at the daily chart. So this is a really bad red candle. Oh, my mistake. That's a really aggressive red candle that we put in yesterday. And this is the bounce back. This is it. This is as good as we could do. That just seems like, you know, the buyers have shut off the buy program, or they're just not around at the moment. So usually, you know, you get some sort of bounce back after a monster red day like this. What was it? The worst day for tech in 2 years? Or what was? Did you hear something?
Was the semiconductors worst day in over 4 years?
Semis. Okay. How about tech? I heard something about 2 years in tech. Of market cap. 300 billion got wiped off the market cap of NVIDIA. That Katina Man is saying that's a record, all-time record for market cap being wiped off. So the point I'm trying to make is after a big boy red day like that, you expect a bit of a bounce. You're not getting a bounce, so I feel there's more blood. I think we may test 18,000, maybe even more, maybe 17.5, right? This is Black Monday over here, August 5th. That's the yen carry trade low. That took us in the pre, I think it took us to 17,350. Yeah, maybe we don't test the August lows, but we definitely, you know, I think we got more to go. And that sucks for the long term because, well, you're going to have to deal with it. So that's the look there. We are getting a bit of a defend area locally here, Adara, at that 19,007. The future using that 19,000 general area is a little bit of a bounce off point, at least for the moment, but not much in the way of range. Let's flip over here to the small cap gapper, see if there's anything afoot over there in small cap world. And I did see this SHPH. Okay, so we have a new entrant here in small cap gapper world. We're going to take off Fifi here, Adara. We're going to put SHPH.
Fifi, do
you love me? You got it, Adara.
You'll never ever take me off your side, Chuck.
Oh.
Da-da-da-da.
Good. No, it's good. It's good. I just don't know words. Otherwise, I would have joined in with you
fair.
there.
I did change some of them as well. So.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, I know. I figured there he might not be talking about side charts there.
You'd think.
But, yeah, this is good look here for SHPH, guys. Let me give you the details. Shuttle Pharmaceuticals, $5.33 million market cap. Katina Man, the Katina Man is printing on NVIDIA. He's reloaded on that, by the way. And now this has done about 9 million shares on the day. Look at this, though. This bad boy was moving in the aftermarket yesterday. This has me feeling like this is, oh, here it is. There's the look. Shuttle Pharmaceutical shares are trading higher after the company was granted whatever this number for selective high stone, oh, wow, deca tylase inhibitors. Deca, wow, bro, that's Latin. All right, in any event, it's broken up here and it's doing decent on the day. Look, the change since open is 64%, but the change on the day is 18. What does that mean? That means basically we tanked in the pre-market. So we got so low, below that 217 closing print from yesterday, we got to a low as $1.28. Then we opened up essentially right at, well, we opened up over here at 930, but we got to the lows of $1.28. Now we're printing 276. So the buying stepping in here on SHPH. And if I could say so, this area was an obvious area of resistance, let's say in front of that 250 area. So mid 240s. Okay, we reject that area, reject, and very much are in a consolidative hold until this 115 candle comes in with a lot of volume, taking us well above that 250, 240 area, now 276. Now here's a look. When we came back, we defended that mid 240s. So we used that mid 240s as support. So you know you've got support at mid 240s, and then likely also support at 2.25, because that's where VWAP is. So SHPH here, baby. Small cap gapper du jour. I didn't finish giving you the details on this. 9.1 million share float. And what's the short float here? Shout out to the NOS boss and his boys over there at Trade Ideas. The short float is 1.78%. So not a whole lot to talk about here. We'll keep eyes on this one. Right there.
Yeah, this Z-scaler, this was I get a Z on this trade out of A to Z. Okay.
I don't mean to laugh, but your joke.
No,
is
it's
funny.
okay. It is a joke. It's laughing is welcomed.
Yeah.
So I don't like I have some qualms about my trade here. Why was I not waiting for the short at 159? Other one at level I like 158.70. That was the level I liked. So I don't know why I was like chilling here, like, oh yeah, we'll get 158.50. To be fair, not a bad level. It immediately though bids up, and I'm like, why are you not getting out right away? I was waffling way too long on this, especially because I didn't have like tons of shares, but I had enough that like, you know, come on, man, be more careful. Be more careful, be smarter, do better. That's the best thing though about the markets. You can come back every single day. To be clear, it wasn't like a massive hit or anything. It's just that I was like not proud of the way I traded this. So that's why you learn in your journal. You learn all. Also, why are you going short of this clear area of support? I knew the support existed. I had zoomed out. I had seen it. And I was like, well, it's going to break below. I'm like, no, it does not need to do that. Wait till it breaks below then maybe. Like the entry was wrong no matter how you slice it. I should not have been trying this 4 times on Zscaler. Not one of these worked out. To be clear, not massive size in any of them, but I really should. I'm pretty sure it increasing size with each trade. The first 2 were smaller, but the second 2 were a bit large. Like the shorts I took a bit more size with. So it's like, Adara, reflect, as Michael Scott in the office says, adapt, react, readapt, act. Definitely should be doing some of that. Should be doing some reflecting on those trades. Not happy with what I did. Not proud of what occurred. Yeah, sorry guys, I've said sometimes there's some medical sleepiness. I've said this in the past, and it's just something I deal with. Do my best here every single day, and shout out to Sheree for being so supportive of that. So that is what that is, guys. I promise I'm alert, and I do love these markets. You guys saw that day that I was like, Sheree saw I was dead tired. I get here, and Tesla wakes me up. So
yeah, I know.
Like being the part of this, honestly.
I remember you got a pushback there too.
Yeah,
there was a bit.
There's always pushbacks. Shout out to you, Rogelio. I appreciate that. We're all humans here, and that's what I think is great about this community. Also, Zscaler, don't make me tempted to trade you a 5th time. I cannot take 5 L's. You know, 21 Savage says take less L's, make more M's, not more L's, right? So you got to learn every single day. Let's figure out. Shout out to Bears versus Bulls.
Neil just put something in the chat, guys. I'm going to read it out. It has to do with X, U.S. Steel. So I'm just loading up the chart right now so you guys can have a look. I'm going to read out the headline in a hot second. It's tanking, guys. White House economics reporter for the Washington Post, Jeff Stein, posts on X. Biden prepares to block Nippon Steel acquisition, or Nippon, or whatever, how it's ever said, of U.S. Steel. Sources tell David Lynch and me, he said. Well, that's obviously Jeff Stein of the Post. So halted to the downside. Wow, U.S. Steel is halted. Is this what's it called? News pending, or is it volatility? Volatility. Thank you, Neil. So it's a volatility halted at 33 39. Let me give you, I don't think I'm going to be able to get the tap because it's a New York stock. Let me see. I don't have the tap, sadly. I do apologize. The Nizies. We don't have the theoretical auction price, which is essentially what the price is in the auction system that's happening while the name is halted. We have an auction system not completely dissimilar from the auction system that takes place before the open there. So we're going to put X, just going to put in the ticker so that everybody can follow along here. This is U.S. Steel, guys. We've already heard Kamala Harris make it very clear that she wants to see U.S. Steel in U.S. ownership hands, Nippon or whatever, however they say. It's open, guys. Here we go. It just printed 31.73, got bought back up. It's printing 32 2/3 right now. It's not really reacting as aggressively, but now it's coming down. So let's see how the market reacts to this. Now we're down about 10%. So now we're likely going to be SSR on this. Let me just load it up. X is SSR now, short sale restricted. It's likely going to halt around again, 31.63 again over here, unless it catches a bit to the high side. Looks like we're, have to flip to the 1 minute chart over here to be able to see whether we halt. Nope, false halt at the moment, 31.50, the new low. The previous halt level over here, 33 1/3. Now we are printing as low as 31.50, okay? And so what I was saying before that open halt there was that the board or the ownership of Nippon Steel, which is owned by, or it's a Japanese-owned company, basically guaranteed that they would make sure it was run by Americans, American owners, this, that, and the other. That's not going to please, obviously. Here we go again, new low, Katina Man. The Katina Man short on X at the moment. Neil, are you taking this short too? Oh, he's not here. 30.71, because he called it out. I didn't know. 30.71 LOD right now, Katina Man. We're bleeding 12 2/3 to the downside. There's a lot of red in these markets. Oh, baby. U.S. Steel acting like a small cap gapper, baby. All a $7 billion market share. The dude's $1 and the money's printing up a storm. We need that storm animation where like there's prints. I'm telling you, Adara. Yeah.
I like that.
Get it? Well, Fabian has heard us. Yes, the Chilean Nightmare has taken notice of said animation. Hopefully we'll see that. So that's the look right now. Big moves down U.S. Steel. What's your look over there, Adara?
My look is, oh yeah, I mean, I don't have that look here. Yeah, Z-Scale, I was like, oh, let's go long, get happy. I was like, Adara, you do not need to take a fifth L in that because that idea wouldn't have worked.
Good
I was
trade,
clearly
brother.
tilted on that. SPY, here you go. Why do you need caffeine? Why do you need Starbucks when you could have the SPY, okay? To be clear, we are like, you know, we're basically flat on this, but I've said, and I will say this before I've said it again, I have two playbook trades in the SPY. One of them is whole dollar breakouts or breakdowns. The other one is trading off of previously, like, price action that I've seen on the book or the chart. Usually, though, I will not feel comfortable getting involved if I haven't seen how it interacts in the book. Bless you. With that in mind, I was waxing poetic earlier about this interaction between 551.70 and 551.30. And I did not get involved because, like, I don't know, I wasn't able to get filled. I think I tried to get, it doesn't matter. The point is I wasn't involved, and that is my bad. That is an L for me. But yeah, to answer the question there for Jorge Alvarado, yeah, I am short here, and I'm risking 15 cents. I'm risking to 551.35s. Why? Because that level was crazy on the book. I watched as we had a huge quadunk there, and we bounced off 551.35. So in my opinion, as long as we stay below 551.35s, we are bearish. I'm willing to risk 15 cents because I want blood here on this streets and in these SPY. I think if we break below, not just 551, I think if we break below 551.95s, that's okay. Let's go, SPY. You know, we're going to be starting to take some profit here at 65s. That is an area I like there. Oh, we'll do 66s. I like that area on the chart. Why do I like that area on the chart? Look at this kind of pre-market action, right? We have some wicks here earlier. Maybe I'm being a little bit too aggressive here with this out, but you got to have some aggression here in these markets. You got to have confidence. You got to believe in yourself. I was, as you can tell, there a little bit like, you know, bah humbug. Not about the trading, just, you know, you're sitting for a while. You're watching markets, and I do want to shout out this whole community for your support. Shout out to Bears versus Bulls. But then here comes the SPY, and the SPY is like, hey, Dara, want to take this ride to the downside of this level that you love? I was like, yeah. And to be clear as well, I actually would have gone long. for the SPY had we held 551.35. That is how good I felt about that level. The fact that we could not even wick into that was like, yeah, okay, Adara, get going. Let's get this right to the down. I would like to, right now my stop's going to be break even. If we break above 551.19, I'm out. But honestly, I'd rather get out break even than make profit just to make profit. I'm not trading for P&L. I'm trading for progress. I'm trading for learning. Let's go. Let's see if the SPY can, we're like 20 pennies in the money here. Let's see what happens. Thank you. I appreciate it. I think if we break below 85s, I don't know why 85s are causing such a kerfuffle here. Oh, there's that wick previously. That might be why. Let's see what happens here on the S&P 500. Break below 80s. I think I can get my profit target here of 65. I'll be taking out 2/3 of La Position at 65. Then I'll be saving a piece for the dream. Hopefully that dream doesn't turn into a nightmare. What are you looking at over
I'm
here?
looking at US Steel. I don't want to get into position because I literally have to get up in 2 minutes, but this thing is bleeding. The Catena Man is 250 in the money now as this breaches 29.50, new lows incoming. Now we are 29 and a fifth LOD, and we're still bleeding more. The volume is pouring into this like you wouldn't believe. What is the volume at the moment right now? Let me just see here real quick. 10 million shares. You know what the average volume is for US Steel? 2.9 million shares, and that's by 4 o'clock. So that's, that gives you an idea of how much market participation. We are now almost down 20%. It looks like we're going to halt here possibly at 29.20. Let's see if the bid or the ask starts stacking. We'll see there. Yeah, and there we are halted again at 29.20. Halted. U.S. Steel 17.98%. In case you're just joining us, Biden administration being reported by the Washington Post that they will block the merger of U.S. Steel. How do you say it? Nippon? Is it Nippon or Nippon?
I think it's spelled like Nippon.
I don't trust Reb. So anything Reb tells me, I seek.
I said Nippon. I'm pretty sure it's Nippon.
Oh, she says this is from Ramin, not Ram. So I have to trust
the emancipation of me.
So it's
over
Nippon.
there. I like that, yeah.
Shout out to Ram. We all halted though, guys. Right here, 29.20. Sadly, I cannot get you the theoretical auction price because it is a New York NYSE listed stock, and they do not share, sadly, the theoretical auction price, which is an auction system that takes place behind the scenes while the stock is halted. Buy and sell orders are coming in vis-a-vis market on open orders. If you don't know what a market on open order is, it behooves you to get into that, to figure it out, to understand how to execute that on your platform. If you want to trade stocks that are halted, and by extension, if you like these small cap gappers, it behooves you to know it as well because they seem to halt up a storm. So market on open orders are submitted to the exchanges while it's halted, and then they gather and they see basically, they try to pair buy and sell orders. If there's an excess of one versus the other, then that shows what the theoretical auction price is. So that's what we're looking at the moment. We're halted about 18% in the red at the moment here at Adara. I'm going to weasel my way up to the big screen. How's your, nice, you printed up a storm there.
Thank you. I'm excited to talk about that. Thank you so much, Sherry, for everything you do for putting those lessons together. Trends in honor of Trenda. Just to make him laugh before he weasels his way on up. Thank you, Sharif. And yeah, you guys can check out Sharif and Neil and Sean in our audience segment. Make sure if you haven't voted, if you're coming in for the big show to see Sean and Neil, you want to know what the Seanfidence and the not Obi-Wanfidence, Neilage. I like it because it rhymes. Seanfidence and Neilage. If you want to know what they were doing, get into that chat and let us know. You guys can do that during our show from 11 a.m. to 1:50 p.m. That's when the voting closes. Shout out to Bears vs. Bulls for everything you do, including counting all those their votes. Also, I want to talk about the SPY trade because I'm really happy with this. We got involved here 551.20. We got out 550.85s. So we took quick math with tired brain. Took like 35 pennies on this trade. Why did I get out to 85s? So basically, I've always said I'm going to trust my read on the book when I'm in these kind of scalps. So to be clear, like I said, I like this level here. The fact that we couldn't get above 551.35, I thought was extremely bearish. So I got involved, risk 15 pennies. Basically, for me, once we broke below 551, that was a good look. At that point, I was basically risking, let's see, I was willing to risk break even. Then, though, we started doing something interesting at 551.85. And to be clear, I was interested in taking profit just above 550. I was just trying to get just above there, that 550.65 area. We get to 550.70s and we bounce. I'm like, okay, that is interesting. We can't even get to that previous area. There's maybe more strength in the SPY than I thought. So once I see in the book there, when we get to that 550, 85s again. I said if we stay below 85s, it's still going to be bearish. We broke above 85s. I got out at 85s there, so please just punch with what I did with this trade. Happy with the mechanics of the trade. Happy with how I worked at it. I had the right idea in the spiral long earlier. Again, it wouldn't have lasted very long, but that's a clear support resistance flip. But you're not going to get 100% of the trades. Things aren't always going to work out how you want them to, or how you think they should, or how the market, like, you know, looks like. But that's why you just have to have principles. You have to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk away, and know when to run. And we are going to be running soon over to see what Sean's doing there. Oh man, is Amazon that low, says Sean. Let's take a look at Amazon there. Oh wow, oh boy. I mean, why am I saying when I'm looking at Amazon, why am I not talking about, yikes. Amazon, this was a big missed opportunity earlier. I kind of said this, that this support resistance flip was really interesting. We break below, we hold VWAP crazy well. Then we break below VWAP and just RIP. We keep trying to hold support. This is like the third time now that we've kind of umbrellaed. Had a red candle, tried to have a green candle, and Amazon's like, do I have to? And continued to sell off. So lots happening there. Everything pushing up except for NVIDIA, says Profit Monsters. That's fair. I think like Meta also a little bit, in my opinion, a bit weaker here. Like I think a lot of these Mag 7 names to kind of summarize. I think Apple, to be fair, actually trying to push up. Tesla's still up on the day, but definitely not like, you know, on the up. Wow, Meta. We talked about trend lines and the break of these trend lines. Look at this on Meta. We get 1 push up, 2 push up, 3 push up. Now we're breaking below. This is a really interesting level to me. So what level would I be interested in? That 5, this is just above 515. That's clearly a top. We've got some wicks earlier. You could maybe risk this into 515.50. Again, not support, like not advice, just my take on the chart. Sharif standing actually on this bull flag and Meta. Sharif waving his flag over there. Shout out to Sharif. You guys will see him in less than a minute. Basically, this Meta breakdown is beautiful. And then I think if we break below that 514.30 area of previous support resistance, that'll be a great look. I want to shout out this whole community. I am, you know, I'm really happy to be here every single day. Shout out to all you guys. Shout out to Sharif. Shout out to Sean, Neil, Brendan, Obi. I'm not going to name everybody in the world because I always sound like I'm giving an Oscar speech. But these markets just keep giving you ample opportunities. It's about how you best take advantage of them. Definitely did not take advantage of all the best opportunities today. But that's what aggressive journaling's for. So there you go. Great times. And we will, you've got a couple seconds left. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. What? GitLab. I'm going to visit GitLab. This was my favorite trade of the day. I had this right off the open and then, or not off the open, off the start of the midday. GitLab, this held into beautiful levels. Look at how well we held the support here at 52. Now actually a higher low with a nice bottoming tail candle at that. Something to look for tomorrow when we'll see you guys. Same bad time, same bad channel. Let's get over there to Sean, Neil, and Sharif. Bye.
Welcome to the Afternoon Rundown, the show where you decide what we talk about every day. Neil and Sean are locked and loaded. They're ready to take the tickers as decided by you. So join Adara and I on the How to Trade